Chapter 1967, this is playing with fire color drained from Autumn Water's face like she'd seen something extremely frightening. You? Why you? Lord Azura. Why is Xiao Feng dining with Lord Azura? This is too horrifying. Si Yihin acted like he didn't see Autumn Water and silently watched Yi Wanwan across from him. This gaze made Yi Wanwan's heart feel uneasy, as though she had fallen into a deep, icy lake. She really didn't want to live anymore. Xiao Feng, what the heck are you doing? Why are you with... Autumn Water was about to pee her pants. Why are you with Lord Azura? Are you trying to cure your goo? Autumn Water lowered her voice. This isn't curing your goo. This is playing with fire. Are you suicidal, huh? Ajio, let me explain. Yuanwan had no presence of mind to pay attention to Autumn Water at this point. She could feel her head pounding. All right, fine. I have no idea how to explain, actually. What Autumn Water said might very well be the truth. A blazing flame churned in Si Yihin's eyes, but the bottomless abyss in the depths of his eyes gradually swallowed the flames. Si Yihin finally spoke. President, Bai. Yi Wanwan's expression froze. Shit, it's over. He rebounded back to President Bai. Desolation blanketed Si Yihin's face as he used a terrifyingly calm and placid tone to say, the effects of the love goo is complicated and shouldn't be regarded as child's play. It would be safer for you to consume the antidote, President Bai. After saying that, Si Yihin didn't utter another word and merely gave a nod as a farewell before turning and leaving. Yuanwan rubbed her face. I'm dead meat. He's genuinely angry this time. Yuanwan smacked her head onto the table. Autumn Water, you've seriously destroyed me this time. Your timing was too convenient. Autumn Water grumbled. Xiao Feng, I haven't asked you what was going on yet, so why are you complaining about me? Haven't I warned you many times to refrain from provoking Lord Azura? That man isn't someone you can trifle with. Yuanwan, I've not only trifled with him, but I've even successfully picked him up. All right? So infuriating. You better tell me everything. Who said I liked Ji Shiran? Yuanwan asked after taking a deep breath. You've always liked Ji Shiran. Doesn't everyone in the independent state know that worryless Niao likes Ji Shiran? Autumn Water was baffled. Yuanwan felt her heart turning into cinders. She never would have expected Autumn Water to actually know her true identity. No wonder Autumn Water knew she had an engagement with Ji Shiran. How wretched. She guarded herself against everything but forgot about Autumn Water. Even if I actually liked him before, with my personality, would I continue to harass him after chasing after him for so many years while still being rejected? Yuanwan retorted. Autumn Water looked a bit hesitant. You did tell me you'd given up after being rejected. You then proceeded to get drunk every day and wreaked havoc everywhere you went. However, you clearly weren't able to forget him. Couldn't I have fallen in love with someone else? Are you kidding me? Who else could you fall in love with? I was by your side that whole time. You might have looked like you were flirting with every pretty man you saw, but you were only doing it verbally. None of it was sincere. Autumn Water replied contemptuously. Yuanwan, can't I have fallen in love with Lord Azura instead? Although there were many things she forgot, she was still herself. She knew herself well. If Ji Shiran truly rejected her back then, she absolutely wouldn't continue pursuing that romance. Chapter 1968 proved my innocence moreover. When Yuanwan came back and saw Ji Shiran again, she felt very close and intimate toward him, but she didn't have that special feeling anymore. She felt like she must have become smitten with someone else, and something that Autumn Water was clueless about happened in between. Based on the current information Yuanwan had, she disappeared after the fight between the martial arts union and prison ended. No one knew what happened during that period of time. Yuanwan narrowed her eyes. She hypothesized that she probably got to know Si Yihin during that time. However, Si Yihin was Lord Azura. As the boss of the Fearless Alliance, Bro Flat Top, how in the world did she mixed up with the boss of Azura? Wasn't that too illogical? She seriously couldn't figure it out. Freaking. It's so aggravating. That bastard actually told me to take the antidote. He's blatantly slandering me. I have to recover my own memory and prove my innocence. Anyhow, I don't like Ji Shiran anymore. It was just a fling with him. so you mustn't run your mouth off in public. Also, my true identity must be kept a secret especially. Of course I know that. Don't worry. Autumn Water glanced at Yi Wanwan inquisitively. Why does something feel off about your attitude just now? Why were you so nervous about Lord Azura? And you called him. Honey, why wouldn't I be nervous? I finally got him after so much effort, and as soon as I pacified him, you angered him away. Yi Wanwan snapped grumpily. Autumn Water was dumbstruck. No way, right? You really got him? She immediately regained her senses and found it impossible. So she disdainfully said, "Stop bragging. He just rejected curing the love goo with you and told you to take the antidote." Shit. Yi Wanwan felt another knife stab into her heart. That's because you enraged him. By now, the sky had completely darkened. When Lin Kei, who was waiting on the street, spotted Si Yin from afar, he exclaimed with surprise, "Ninth brother, why are you back so fast? I thought you two would stay the night outside." As Lin Kei spoke, he discovered something off about Si Yin's expression. "Ninth brother, did something happen?" Si Yin didn't look at him as he opened the door and sat in the back before closing his eyes, as though all his energy had been sucked dry. Drive. Ninth brother. Although Lin Kei had a stomach full of questions, he could tell Si Yin's current condition was extremely perilous, so he didn't dare to inquire further and repressed all his inquiries. In the back seat, the man's cold lips turned into a bitter smile. If this was before, he could still be glad that she lost all of her memories and wouldn't remember the past, and he could continue to believe in the delusion that they were mutually in love with each other. Now, though, she had returned. She came back to this place. He previously speculated that someone was Ji Shiran, and she'd already seen that person. Today, he finally ascertained that the person in her heart back then was Ji Shiran. He was keenly aware, although they had a tacit mutual understanding and didn't bring it up voluntarily. He knew perfectly well that she was trying her best to regain her previous memories. It was even very possible she already recovered a portion of her memory. He didn't dare to think about what she already remembered and how much she remembered, and which day or which moment or which second she would suddenly remember everything. The turmoil in his heart during this period of time was indescribable. What was most painful wasn't losing something. It was gaining something, then losing it. Even so, he was unwilling to abandon this bliss that could turn into suds at any moment. Until today, until Autumn Water's words slammed him awake from his dream abruptly. It really was true. She really did have someone she loved deeply back then. And he really was nothing but a passerby. Chapter 1969, Giant Pig Trotter. Wanwan currently brimmed with nothing but grievance from suffering a great injustice. Since she hadn't regained her memories and didn't know what in the world happened back then, she couldn't defend herself even if she wanted to. Being unable to speak in her own self-defense couldn't be any more suffocating. However, at least she was 1000% certain of her current feelings. What was tragic was that this circumvented back to the beginning. Since she hadn't regained her memory, everything she said right now probably wouldn't have any effect on Si Yin. "Xiaofeng, are you okay?" Autumn Water clapped Yi Wanwan on the shoulder with an unsurprised expression. "Anyone with a brain would know Lord Azura wouldn't cure the goo with you. So don't do anything this dangerous again. You should wait for news from Emperor Ji." Yi Wanwan grimly muttered, "Autumn Water, I have a question for you." "Back then, did I what?" Yi Wanwan deliberated her words before asking. "Did I particularly like anyone, aside from Ji Shiran?" Autumn Water exasperatedly looked at her. "Has your memory gotten muddled from the sheer number of people you flirted with? Truthfully speaking, I really didn't see you acting earnestly toward anyone." "Are you sure? Carefully think about it some more." Autumn Water shook his head. There really isn't." Yi Wanwan sighed and had no choice but to give up. "It appears I can only rely on myself to remember everything." Damn it, does that guy really have so little trust in me? If the past memory was her memory, weren't these years she spent with him also part of her memory? If the past her was her, wasn't the current her also her? Yi Wanwan was fuming, but as soon as she recalled the man's calmly leaving silhouette, Her heart grappled with pain, and she didn't dare to say a single harsh word. Even Yi Wanwan herself found it funny. He truly deserved the title Vinegar King of Asia. He probably produced vinegar by the ton. He kept mentioning the past, but what was there to mention about the past? Since he knew it was the past, hadn't he ever heard of the saying, a real man doesn't boast about his past achievements? Even if she really did like Ji Shiran back then and was madly in love with Ji Shiran, wanting no other man than him. So what? That was worryless Nya who liked him, not her. Although Yi Wanwan didn't possess all of worryless Nye's memories, nor had she experienced them herself, at least she had a general understanding of worryless Nye's personality. To put it plainly, worryless Nye and the current her were two completely different people, all right? When Yi Wanwan returned to the Fearless Alliance's headquarters, she listlessly sat behind her desk and kept deleting and retyping what she wanted to say for half a day before finally sending a text message to Si Yin. Aja, what Autumn Water said might be a portion of the memory I lost, but it definitely isn't everything. Her text sank into the ocean like a rock and didn't receive any response. You giant pig trotter. So what if I liked Ji Shiran in the past? I don't feel anything toward Ji Shiran now. Fine, keep producing vinegar. Sour yourself until you die. Yi Wanwan tried her hardest to calm herself down, but it was futile. Agitated, Yi Wanwan's gaze landed on a bottle of red wine sitting on the bar. Didn't some home master give that to me yesterday? Having a bottle of wine in front of her at a moment like this was an inexplicable attraction. A round of disarrayed footsteps could be heard from outside. It was Big Dipper, 7-star, Autumn Water, First Elder, Second Elder, and Third Elder coming to make reports. The second the group pushed the door open, they simultaneously detected an extremely dangerous scent. It's the smell of alcohol. Chapter 1970. Drink until we're drunk tonight. When the door fully opened, Big Dipper shockingly discovered their president was actually drinking. As Big Dipper watched Yi Wanwan madly chugging from the wine bottle, his face contorted into the famous painting, The Scream, as he shouted, "Sis phone! My God! What are you doing?" Everyone subconsciously took a step back. "What are you yelling about? Come here and drink with me. We'll drink until we're drunk tonight." Faced with this suicidal request, Big Dipper turned ghastly pale. "Sis phone, I'm really sorry. My mom's sick at the hospital, so I have to go to the hospital to take care of my mom." First Elder decisively took a step forward and said, "President, our northern branch has an emergency and is urgently calling me over. I'll take care of that for you right now, President." Third Elder glared at First Elder. "President, First Elder already took care of his business. Me, though, I still have tasks to finish. Xiao Feng, I'm meeting someone, so I also have to go." Yuanwan pressed a little black remote in her hand, and a loud bang resounded a second later. The door was tightly shut. No one is allowed to leave until they are drunk tonight. "Sit down. Sis Feng, drink a little less." "Yeah." Before Big Dipper could finish talking, Yuanwan already threw her head back and chugged more than half the bottle down. Big Dipper rubbed his face. "Shit, I'm probably going to die here tonight. Damn it, when I was installing the door, why didn't I skimp on the job and install a cheaper quality door?" Now, they were trapped inside and couldn't escape. The group watched as Yuanwan inhaled bottle after bottle and helplessly looked at each other with overwhelming trepidation. Big Dipper kept scooting farther and farther away until he curled into a ball and hid in the corner under the stairs. After Yuanwan downed a third bottle, 3 additional cocoons appeared next to Big Dipper. First Elder and Second Elder subconsciously hid in the corner too. Big Dipper asked, What should we do? What else?" Quickly stopped the president, of course. This was First Elder. "Who should go?" Third Elder questioned. The air turned silent. First Elder put forth a recommendation. Third Elder is full of strategies, so he can handle this great responsibility. Third Elder retorted, "Why don't you go? You have extraordinary martial art talent, so you're more appropriate." First Elder and Third Elder glared at each other before First Elder finally turned to Big Dipper. "Big Dipper, I think you're the most suitable, actually. Doesn't the president favor you the most? That's true. Third elder agreed. You damn old codgers. You want me to die? Big Dipper cried. First elder countered. Doesn't the president trust and indulge you the most? First elder seems to be right. Shit, wait. You're tricking me. In the corner, they kept pushing each other and tossing the hot potato around, a battle royale on its own. However, after Yi Wanwan downed 3 bottles of wine, her mind became dazed already. Her first reaction was to pull out her phone and start sending text messages. Several messages later, they all sank into the ocean like rocks. And so, Yi Wanwan directly called him, but endless ringing came from the other end without any response until the call automatically hung up. Yi Wanwan was unwilling to give up and harshly slammed the keys, persistently calling, but no one answered. The people curled into balls in the corner were confused. Autumn Water was rather curious as she watched Yi Wanwan madly calling someone. Who's Xiao phone calling? First elder and third elder met each other's eyes and expressed they had no idea. 7-star also didn't know. Chapter 1971, Could It Be They Broke Up? Big Dipper gritted his teeth and said, I'll go and take a look. Putting his life on the line, Big Dipper secretively snuck over and got his hands on a mirror from who knew where. Standing at an extremely peculiar angle, he managed to see the name of the person Yi Wanwan was calling on her phone screen. Damn, it's actually him again. Who? Who? The other people urgently asked with lowered voices. Big Dipper returned to the corner and answered emotionally. The owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory. 7-star frowned deeply. Him again. Huh? The owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory? Who's that? First elder and third elder were dumbfounded, and Autumn Water was also clueless. Big Dipper secretively explained. It's a new man Sis Fong took a fancy to. They were so lovey-dovey before, and she called him and sent him text messages every day, calling him baby and honey and every other word. What's going on today? Could it be they broke up? 7-star. Who is he? How dare he reject our president? First elder exclaimed. Who is this person? We can just abduct him here for the president. Third elder suggested. Autumn Water felt it was a little improbable. Xiao Feng was with Emperor Ji already, so how could she feel anything else toward another man? In the midst of their chaos, Yi Wanwan slumped over her chair with a plop and started snoring lightly, sound asleep. Big Dipper carefully examined Yi Wanwan for a moment before breaking into a grin. Damn, that scared the shit out of me. Nothing happened. Sis Feng fell asleep. 7-star. The other people looked at each other. Did she really fall asleep? She better not sleepwalk later on. I'm telling you. My friend's college dorm mate who slept on the bunk above him sleepwalked. In the middle of the night, he would grab a watermelon knife from who knew where, jump off his bed, and pull up their shirts before slapping each of them on the belly with the knife, while shaking his head. That friend of mine was scared to death. Big Dipper hastily said, What are you saying? Autumn Water was baffled. The second day, my friend asked his dorm mate about it, and his dorm mate said he dreamed he was about to eat watermelons last night and was about to cut them, but unfortunately, none of them were ripe. Big Dipper finished with a laugh. Autumn Water rolled her eyes at Big Dipper. That was a freaking scary story, all right? Before Big Dipper could say anything else, the phone next to Yi Wanwan lit up. Out of curiosity, Autumn Water leaned closer to look at Yi Wanwan's phone. Is it that vinegar seller? Big Dipper quickly asked. Autumn Water shook her head. It was a video call, not a phone call. Big Dipper quickly snatched the phone and accepted the call. This chapter is scrapped from Read Light Novel. In the video, a man was dressed in a formal outfit, and a perpetually frozen mountain seemed to inhabit his eyes. When the man saw Big Dipper appearing on his screen, his brows furrowed slightly. Damn, Lord Azura. Everyone was stupefied at the sight of the man in the video. Why would Lord Azura video call their president? Could it be Lord Azura was the vinegar seller? Lord Azura, has your Azura switched fields and started selling vinegar? Big Dipper was staring at the screen, bewildered. Don't you know how to talk? Autumn Water shoved Big Dipper to the side as she stole the phone and put a smile on her face. Lord Azura, It's so late. Were you? The video call was hung up before Autumn Water could finish speaking. Autumn Water felt like her pride took 1,000 damage. Lord Azura must need something important, calling the president so late at night. Hurry and call him back. Big Dipper urgently shouted. Chapter 1972 Fell asleep next to you? Autumn Water threw Yi Wanwan's phone at Big Dipper. Call him yourself. You'll take the blame for anything that goes wrong. Damn fine. I'll take the blame if anything goes wrong, but if there's any merit, it will also only belongs to me. Big Dipper grumbled as he caught the phone before calling back without any hesitation. A moment later, the video call surprisingly connected. When Siyin saw Big Dipper's face, his brows furrowed again. Lord Azura, why were you looking for our president? Our president fell asleep next to me, Big Dipper said. Fell asleep next to you? Siyin's eyes glinted coldly. That's right. Fell asleep next to me. Big Dipper nodded. Take a look for yourself. Why would I lie to you? No need. The man's frighteningly chilly voice rang out. However, Big Dipper aimed the camera toward Yi Wanwan anyway, as though he didn't hear the other man. When Siyin saw the room full of people and Yi Wanwan lying on the sofa, his expression eased up a little. What happened to President Bai? Siyin asked a long while later. Nothing. Our president drank some wine and got wasted. Did you need something important, Lord Azura? Big Dipper replied. It's cold. Cover her up with a jacket. Siyin directly ignored Big Dipper's question. Big Dipper nodded matter-of-factly. That's right. The president will probably sleep all night, so she better stay warm. After saying that, Big Dipper handed the phone to Autumn Water and pulled out a blanket from a cabinet before walking toward the sofa. Sis phone, you're awake? Big Dipper was startled when he saw Yi Wanwan abruptly opening her eyes. Yi Wanwan's right arm swung, and before anyone realized what happened, a loud bang was heard. Yi Wanwan had punched Big Dipper on the nose, causing Big Dipper and his blanket to fly back with the wail of a dying pig. Open the door. Someone, come and open this door. This scene shocked Second Elder and made him start shouting at whoever was outside the door. First Elder and Third Elder were also as far from the scene as possible, wishing nothing more than to be thousands of miles away from Yi Wanwan. However, the door was locked, and the group couldn't leave, even if they wanted to unless they broke the door. 7-star, quick, go and grab the remote. Third Elder hastily instructed 7-star. 7-star glanced at the remote sitting next to Yi Wanwan, and instantly he shook his head without thinking. He aloofly answered, no. Third Elder, come, drink. Yi Wanwan casually sat up on the sofa, the scent of alcohol permeating the air around her. Big Dipper covered his nose as he scrambled up from the floor and looked at Yi Wanwan. Sis phone, all the alcohol is gone. Open the door and let me out first so I can go back to the hospital and take care of my mom. I'll definitely drink with you tomorrow. Yi Wanwan turned to the liquor cabinet nearby with a confused expression. There was quite a hefty amount of alcohol inside the cabinet still. A smirk turned up on Yi Wanwan's face as she hooked her pointer finger at Big Dipper. At Big Dipper's immobility, Second Elder urged, Big Dipper, hurry and go. The president is calling you over. I won't. Whoever wants to go can go. Big Dipper frantically shook his head. Do they think I'm dumb? I just sustained a punch, all right? Come here, Yi Wanwan ordered, drunk as a fiddler. Chapter 1973, he felt like he was going to be beaten to death tonight. Third Elder, come with me. Big Dipper turned to Third Elder. Scram. Third Elder yelled. Big Dipper's gaze landed on 7-star. 7, no. 7-star promptly replied. Big Dipper. Didn't people say times of disaster showed who true friends were, and that friends stayed with you through the good and bad? Men were all freaking pig trotters. And so, Big Dipper had no choice but to slowly trudge toward Yi Wanwan with an ingratiating smile on his face. Sis phone, Big Dipper called. Before Big Dipper could finish speaking, Yi Wanwan swung her right arm, and Big Dipper's nose was punched again quicker than anyone could react. Big Dipper clutched his nose and looked at Yi Wanwan, aggrieved. Sis phone, can't you hit a different spot? Yi Wanwan pointed at the nearby liquor cabinet. Isn't that alcohol? Big Dipper. Didn't they say a drunk person's intelligence went to zero? She didn't act dumb. She still knew there was alcohol inside the liquor cabinet. Big Dipper felt like he was going to be beaten to death tonight. All right, Sis Fong, Lord Azura needs you for something super urgent. Big Dipper hastily shouted. Lord Azura had become his last salvation. Lord Azura. Confusion surfaced in Yi Wanwan's eyes. Where? Yi Wanwan examined her surroundings. HH here. He's here. Big Dipper quickly stood up and sprinted toward Autumn Water, making her lift up the phone to face Yi Wanwan. Downer. Yi Wanwan frowned deeply. Drinking is drinking. Why would you display a funeral portrait? Big Dipper. First elder, second elder, third elder. No one expected their president to call the video version of Lord Azura a funeral portrait. Even Si Yihin couldn't help but furrow his brows. Sis Fong, that isn't a funeral portrait. It's Lord Azura. First elder corrected Yi Wanwan. Lord Azura? Yi Wanwan frowned and squinted her eyes, carefully inspecting the man on the phone screen. Si Yihin also silently stared back at Yi Wanwan. Why did Lord Azura die? Yi Wanwan asked a moment later. Everyone was dumbfounded again. Wow, drinking alcohol seriously evoked a major disaster. President Bai, I'm still alive, Si Yihin quickly refuted. It's not a funeral portrait. Curiosity filled Yi Wanwan's face when she heard the man speaking. Yi Wanwan carefully examined Si Yihin for a long time before pointing at him and suddenly asking, Your Lord Azura? That can't be. Aren't you that lackey Lord Azura imprisoned in the little black house? The man in the video unwaveringly met Yi Wanwan's eyes, as though he wanted to search for something in her eyes. Did she finally remember something? First Elder and the others all looked at Yi Wanwan, baffled. What in the world was their president saying? This man was clearly the big boss of Azura. So why did the president call him a lackey? Sis Fong really drunk too much. She can't even recognize Lord Azura. It's not like she drank that much. Big Dipper muttered. Sis Fong has low tolerance, 7-star cut-in. Chapter 1974. It's over this time Big Dipper knew Yi Wanwan's alcohol tolerance was low, and she got drunk with a single drop of alcohol. So why the heck did she have to drink so much alcohol despite knowing she had a low tolerance? We'll talk after President Bai is sober. After saying that, the man hung up the video call. Shit, Sis Fong must have offended Lord Azura. Not only did she say Lord Azura was dead and called him a funeral portrait, but she also ridiculed Lord Azura by saying he's nothing and calling him a lackey. It's over, it's over. It's over this time. Big Dipper looked anguished. Drinking really causes trouble. Perhaps Lord Azura started a video call so late at night because he wanted to discuss some major collaboration with their fearless alliance. But now, it was definitely ruined. Yi Wanwan drunkenly swept her eyes over the group before lying down on the sofa, her thoughts unknowable. Soon, Yi Wanwan fell into a deep sleep. After Yi Wanwan fell asleep, First Elder and his gang wanted to leave. However, the key to opening the door was in Yi Wanwan's death grip, and Autumn Water couldn't extract it after trying for half a day. The group helplessly stared at each other, and a string of sighs left their mouths. They had no choice but to sit down on the floor and wait for Yi Wanwan to sleep off the alcohol. The next day at noon, the second Yi Wanwan opened her eyes. Several enormous heads burst into Yi Wanwan's sight. Yi Wanwan's torso leaped up from the sofa from shock in a flash. When she realized it was Big Dipper and the others, she relaxed. What are you doing? Yi Wanwan stared at the group, bewildered. Heavens, you're finally awake, Sis Fong. Big Dipper was bursting with excitement as he looked at Big Dipper. Yi Wanwan frowned slightly and finally remembered. Last night, she seemed to have dragged Big Dipper and the others to drink with her and also locked the door, preventing them from leaving. I got drunk. Yi Wanwan asked them. Sis Fong, is there anything to be confused about? Of course you got drunk. Big Dipper hastily replied. Not only did she get drunk, but she also locked them up and prevented them from leaving. Embarrassment appeared on Yi Wanwan's face immediately. Judging from the appearance of Big Dipper and the others, it appeared they didn't sleep at all last night. Did anything happen after I got drunk? Yi Wanwan inquired curiously. Everyone met each other's eyes. As expected, she forgot everything that happened in her inebriated state. Big Dipper, why is your nose swollen? Yi Wanwan reflexively asked when she saw Big Dipper's swollen nose. Big Dipper shuddered. Sis Fong, after you got drunk, Lord Azura told me to cover you with a blanket, but you punched me twice as soon as I approached you. Yi Wanwan, this tragic child. Wait, Lord Azura told you to cover me with a blanket. Yi Wanwan became spirited at once. You're saying Lord Azura came here last night? No. Lord Azura gave you a video call. Autumn Water elaborated from the side. A video call? Did he say anything? Yi Wanwan urgently pressed. Sis Fong, Lord Azura video called you even though it was so late at night, so I'm sure he wants to make some giant deal with our fearless alliance. But you drank too much last night and offended Lord Azura. Sis Fong. Big Dipper said. Yi Wanwan's expression shifted. I offended Si Yin? Just what happened? Yi Wanwan asked with a frown. When you saw Lord Azura on the phone screen, you called him a funeral portrait and said Lord Azura was just a lackey or something, Big Dipper explained. Yi Wanwan, that's fine. Thank goodness I didn't mention Ji Xiuran, or else Si Yin would have definitely exploded. Chapter 1975. The eve before the storm. Her drinking this time was slightly different from the past. Before, her memory blacked out directly after she got drunk, but her memory wasn't exactly blacked out this time. If she thought about it carefully, she could faintly recall some scenes. They were just very unclear. She wondered whether it was related to how a portion of her memories was recovered. Did anything else happen? Did Lord Azura say something? Yi Wanwan asked, as she turned to the group. Big Dipper shook his head. I don't think so. Lord Azura mainly told me to cover you with a blanket because it's chilly so you might get cold or something. Wait, Sis Fong, why would Lord Azura tell me to cover you with a blanket for no reason? He must have had some nefarious motive for acting so nice. Yi Wanwan glanced at Big Dipper, unwilling to waste her words with him. She quickly opened the office door and told them to leave and rest. After all, they stayed up the whole night because of her and hadn't slept yet. After everyone left, Yi Wanwan picked up her cell phone and stared at the phone contact named owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory for a brief moment before dialing. The call connected, but no one picked up the phone. Yi Wanwan refused to give up and persistently kept calling, but during the third attempt, the other end directly rejected the call. A fury instantly ignited inside Yi Wanwan. He's become fully fledged. I can forgive him for not picking up my call, but now he's intentionally rejecting my call. Si Yin, you're too terrible. Yi Wanwan humphed. Fine, reject my call. It's not like I want to call you. If you're so capable, ignore my call for the rest of your life. Although Yi Wanwan couldn't continue calling him, the messages didn't stop. She started bombing him with messages, starting from, what are you doing, and have you eaten yet, and ending with straight-up harassment. However, Si Yin didn't answer a single message. It wasn't until 7-Star and Big Dipper's arrival in the afternoon that Yi Wanwan decided to show mercy on Si Yin for a moment and stopped her mad assault. Sis Fong, something bad happened. 7-Star was the first to talk after entering her office. Yi Wanwan was startled. Why did something bad happen every day? What now? Yi Wanwan asked nonchalantly. One of our partner factions stopped all partnership with the Fearless Alliance today, 7-Star elaborated. Stopped all partnership? Yi Wanwan was astonished. That didn't sound right. The Fearless Alliance had always had decent relationships with its collaborative partners. So why would a faction abruptly halt all collaborations? Which faction? Yi Wanwan asked with a frown. This was a stomp on the Fearless Alliance's pride. Sis Fong, it's Heavenly Owl. Heavenly Owl. Yi Wanwan was surprised. Heavenly Owl was an extremely long-established faction in the independent state, and its power wasn't inferior to that of the 4 great clans. Actually, Heavenly Owl could be considered the Fearless Alliance's big brother. When the Fearless Alliance was initially founded, Heavenly Owl provided a lot of assistance to the Fearless Alliance. Moreover, the Fearless Alliance had an exceptionally amicable relationship with Heavenly Owl. They had been business partners for many years without any problems, so why were they stopping all business dealings with them now? If it was some other faction, the Fearless Alliance could confront them directly, but Heavenly Owl was different. It was the Fearless Alliance's big brother. "Let me make a call and ask," Yuan said. Although Yuan didn't have her old memories, she had shared a few meals with Heavenly Owl's leader, a female boss that Yuan admired immensely and respected, so it shouldn't be a big problem for her to ask about the reason. Chapter 1976 Emperor G goes missing. Sis phone. "Why are you calling?" Heavenly Owl's boss went missing. Big Dipper hastily interjected. "Huh? Went missing?" Yuan was astonished and caught off guard. "That's right, she went missing. It happened just in these past 2 days, and the people from Heavenly Owl thought it was the Fearless Alliance who did it since Heavenly Owl's boss only lowers her defenses against us, the Fearless Alliance. Aside from the Fearless Alliance, it's impossible for even a power like Azura to abduct Heavenly Owl's boss without any notice," Big Dipper said with a sigh. Yuan mused to herself. "This is seriously a disaster falling from the sky unwarranted, even though all I was doing was sending messages in my office. Heavenly Owl's boss is incredibly friendly toward the Fearless Alliance, so why would the Fearless Alliance abduct their boss? Are the people from Heavenly Owl missing their brains? What does Heavenly Owl's missing boss have anything to do with us? Are those people stupid?" Yuan was incensed. Although the Fearless Alliance often did this kind of thing, the target mattered, all right? Heavenly Owl's boss had such a good relationship with her back then and helped her so much when she founded the Fearless Alliance. So there was no way she would do such an utterly heartless thing regardless of how wretched she was. Soon, Yuan received news that several higher-ups from Heavenly Owl had come to the Fearless Alliance. Yuan didn't slack off and immediately greeted the higher-ups. When faced with their inquisition, Yuan swore that their Fearless Alliance absolutely wasn't the culprit. After getting rid of those higher-ups from Heavenly Owl, Yuan instantly ordered Second Elder to bring some people and investigate this matter. They better not discover someone was intentionally framing the Fearless Alliance for this. Moreover, the Fearless Alliance was indebted to Heavenly Owl's boss, so they had to find her. However, in the following 2 days, many famous and powerful figures in the independent state subsequently went missing one after another, as though they evaporated into thin air. All contact with them was cut, and there wasn't any news of them no matter how hard people searched. Until the 3rd day, inside her office in the Fearless Alliance, Yuan stared at First Elder in shock. "That's absolutely impossible." Yuan was incredulous. "President, it's true. It's absolutely true. Emperor G went missing last night," First Elder repeated with a frown. Yuan could understand it if the boss of Heavenly Owl and some veteran factions in the independent state went missing, but when it was Emperor G's turn. Who is Emperor G? G Chiron was the heir to the G family, one of the independent state's 4 great clans, and the emperor of all of Europe's underground powers, a frightening figure who could nearly control all of the independent state with a crook of his finger. But he actually went missing. Emperor G really went missing. Yuan was still unwilling to accept this unbelievable truth. Yes, President, Emperor G did indeed go missing. Not only that, but there's news that he fought with someone intensely before going missing, since there was a lot of fresh blood inside the room. It's also been verified that blood is Emperor G's. First Elder had a deep frown on his face. A person like Emperor G held immense power and lorded over the independent state, but he mysteriously disappeared in his own territory, even leaving behind a large amount of his own blood at the crime scene. That was enough to shock every faction in the independent state. After receiving news of Emperor G's disappearance, Yuan didn't hesitate and immediately ordered Big Dipper to drive her to Emperor G's headquarters and the G estate. Chapter 1977, There's big trouble, however. Whether it was Emperor G's headquarters or the G estate, They were dizzy with work and were madly searching for Ji Xiuran's whereabouts. Combined with the fact that a tremendous number of factions also dropped by the area to obtain more information, no one had any time to receive Yi Wanwan, or anyone for that matter. To avoid causing trouble for Emperor Ji's faction and the Ji family, Yi Wanwan had no choice but to leave and stop disturbing them. Although Yi Wanwan didn't feel any adoration for Emperor Ji anymore and had given her whole heart to see Yihan, Ji Xiuran was her benefactor. Without Ji Xiuran, where would she be today? Hence, Yi Wanwan was immensely worried about Ji Xiuran's disappearance. When she returned to the Fearless Alliance, she immediately dispatched a lot of members to help search for Ji Xiuran's whereabouts. She was aware that the impact would be minimal, but she and the Fearless Alliance had to do something at a time like this, or else she wouldn't be able to rest easy. Ji Xiuran truly provided a lot of warmth to Yi Wanwan, especially when she just arrived in the independent state, a stranger in a strange place. When she was asking a tiger for its skin in the Fearless Alliance, it was Ji Xiuran who stayed by her side and helped her gain a better understanding of the independent state and the Fearless Alliance, allowing Yi Wanwan to develop a better chance of survival. This warmth was familial, and their feelings for each other were like that of an older brother and younger sister. Normal people might not comprehend it, but Yi Wanwan understood it. Inside the office, Yi Wanwan's face was so dark that ink could drip from it. Her chilly and sinister eyes stared outside the window. She swore that if someone dared to harm Ji Xiuran, she would rip them into shreds. Actually, Sis Feng, there's one more matter. The quiet 7-star spoke up after a lengthy silence. What is it? Yi Wanwan asked with a frown. Sis Feng, big brother when Xiran left for a long time, and logically speaking, he should have returned long ago. However, there hasn't been any news from him recently, and when the Fearless Alliance attempted to contact Big Brother when Xiran these last few days, they couldn't reach him at all, 7-star replied. Sis Feng, Brother Xiran isn't dead, right? Big Dipper was brimming with worry. Big Dipper and 7-star were led by one Xiran after Yi Wanwan left the independent state, so they had a superb relationship. 7-star turned to Big Dipper. His lips drew open as though he wanted to say something but couldn't utter a word. It was hard to accept this kind of result, but it wasn't improbable. Yi Wanwan couldn't remember when Xiran at all, but she knew when Xiran was her sworn elder brother. When Xiran was also known as the #1 fighter in the Fearless Alliance, so she wagered that she couldn't defeat him back then. How could a fighter like that disappear and die? Many strange things have indeed happened in the independent state lately, Sis Feng. Heavenly Owl's boss, the leaders of some top-notch, long-established factions, and even Emperor Ji and Big Brother when Xiran all disappeared peculiarly. Is there a connection here? 7-star started analyzing the recent situation in an attempt to calm himself down. Old 7, are you saying it's the same group of people behind the disappearances of all these bosses and big shots? Big Dipper stared at 7-star incredulously. What kind of cosmic joke was that? I also think it's inconceivable, but it isn't improbable. If this is true, are Emperor Ji and the others currently still alive, or gone from this world? 7-star asked. Chapter 1978, Only One Person. Bullshit. Big Dipper glanced at 7-star. What the hell are you thinking? Which power in the independent state could make these bosses disappear silently like this overnight? Even the freaking martial arts union couldn't do that, right? Big Dipper interjected. He continued, forget about others, but even if we ignore the power backing up people like Emperor Ji and my brother Xiran, who could forcefully take them if they wanted to escape, considering their martial strength? So many top-notch big shots were affected too. Big Dipper wasn't the only one. Yi Wanwan herself didn't believe it. There really didn't seem to be any faction in the independent state who could accomplish what happened. 1 or 2 leaders were probable, but even Emperor Ji mysteriously disappeared and left behind a puddle of blood in his room. How earth-shattering was that? So you really think no one could have pulled it off? 7-star looked at Big Dipper meaningfully. Who? Since you're so awesome, name me someone who could have done it. Big Dipper was indignant. Piece of shit. 7-star was silent for a long while before uttering that name. Big Dipper's expression drastically changed. If there really was someone who could do this, piece of shit was probably the only likely person in the entire independent state, right? Piece of shit. Yuan got a cold sweat when she heard that. Although she knew piece of shit had formidable martial arts skills, she never expected him to be this powerful. Could piece of shit really make all the top-notch bosses, including Ji Shiran, disappear without a trace in such a short amount of time by himself? But if it really was piece of shit, I'm afraid the missing people have probably left this world, 7-Star said. This time, Big Dipper oddly didn't refute him. Indeed, judging from his past behavior, unless piece of shit didn't attack, he wouldn't have left any survivors behind. However, Yuan didn't wholly agree. Wasn't she also beaten mercilessly by piece of shit back then? Wasn't she still perfectly alive right now? Sis Feng, your situation was different. As though he sensed Yi Wanwan's thoughts, 7-Star turned to her and shook his head. What I mean is that the target's piece of shit attacks of his volition are all his prey. To piece of shit, prey can only die and can't survive. However, Sis Feng, you were the one who provoked piece of shit, and piece of shit was merely forced to retaliate, so piece of shit never viewed you as prey. Yuan couldn't find any rebuttal. Was I that masochistic back then? Although piece of shit was incredibly suspicious, Yuan wasn't willing to believe it. She had a fair amount of interactions with piece of shit, and piece of shit acted strangely sometimes, but he was a very principled person, and this person's principles were terrifyingly rigid. Piece of shit once said he didn't target anyone but the ancient clans of the independent state, and Ji Shiran and the others had nothing to do with the ancient clans. If it was Si Yihan who went missing, Yuan could understand it, since Si Yihan was a member of the ancient Si clan. At the thought of Si Yihan, Yuan became slightly anxious. Did something similar also happen at Azura? But if Lord Azura also went missing, he would be in the same predicament as Emperor Ji. The news would have spread like wildfire in the shortest amount of time, so this lack of news meant nothing happened at Azura. Chapter 1979, We've slept together, and we have a child. Although things on Azura's side were tranquil, and there was no news, Yuan was still overcome with nervousness and unease. After all, the circumstances were unusual this time. All the missing people were powerful figures, and Si Yihan was a member of the ancient clan's collateral branch, so she truly couldn't help but worry. Hence, after some deliberation, she decided to directly call Si Yihan. When no one picked up her call after calling twice, Yuan started sending messages. Where are you right now? Return my call. Quick! Yuan catapulted 3 messages in a row, but the recipient still didn't respond. She knew she was just scaring herself, but she still became anxious. In her anxiousness, she started bombarding him with messages continuously. Quickly return my message. Return my message already. Answer me. H. Big Dipper and 7-Star turned to each other as they caught Yuan swiftly tapping her phone and sending messages. Sis Phone is sending messages to that vinegar owner again. Damn, is she crazy? This mindless message bombing doesn't resemble our Sis Feng's flirting techniques. It's more like she's an idiotic teenage girl whose intelligence went into the negative after falling passionately in love. 7-Star ignored Big Dipper's ridicule, but his expression was rather worried. Sis Feng's attitude toward this owner of the Independent States vinegar factory was rather unusual. Simultaneously at Azura's headquarters, in the enormous conference room, the atmosphere was oddly grim as many Azura higher-ups were gathered and discussing how the leaders of some major factions in the independent state went missing for no reason recently. At that moment, a string of ringtones was abruptly heard inside the deadly silent and stifling conference room. And the source of the ringtone actually originated from their boss. Everyone reflexively looked up and promptly saw their lord dazedly staring at his phone, which was sitting on the table. He didn't say anything, nor did he make any move to accept the call until the call broke off on its own. Soon, the phone started ringing again, and this time, their lord still didn't accept it. Whose call caused their lord to be so conflicted and absent-minded? As the higher-ups looked at each other in confusion and allowed their imagination to run wild with speculations, their lord's phones started ringing with message tones like a series of cannonballs, one after the other, and they increased in speed. The only sound in the conference room was the swift ringing of ding, ding, ding. Jiang Yan's brows furrowed as he glanced at his lord. His lord rarely used a cell phone, and that phone was his private cell phone, which went off even more rarely. So what was going on today? Lin Kei was sitting to the right of Si Yihin and peeked at his ninth brother's phone from the corner of his eyes. The scene greeting him was hair-raising. Message notifications wildly danced across the screen like there was a glitch. Ahem, ninth brother, what's happening with your phone? Did it get a virus? Lin Kei whispered after leaning closer. Si Yihin imperceptibly sighed as he stared at his cheerfully ringing phone. Finally, he picked up the phone like he was relenting, and he unlocked the screen. Lin Kei finally saw the sender of those messages. MW. MW? Whose alias is this? Lin Kei was wondering as more messages continuously arrived in Si Yihin's phone. Since Si Yihin's phone was unlocked, Lin Kei managed to get a peek of the message's contents. MW. Reply to me already. MW. Reply to me. MW. You can reply with a punctuation mark too. MW. Answer me with a period. Quick. MW. Why haven't you replied yet? MW. I'll give you 10 seconds. If you still don't reply to me, I'll jump to the roof of the Martial Arts Union's headquarters and use a loudspeaker to announce to everyone that we've slept together and we have a 5-year-old child. Chapter 1980 planted head first into a sea of vinegar Lin Kei. All right, he didn't need to guess anymore. Based on this audacious style, he could tell it was that idiot, Yuan. However, why the heck was her alias MW? He couldn't figure out what acronym it was. Did it have some special meaning? MW10, MW9, MW8. While Yuan counting down, Lin Kei was trying to guess how long his ninth brother could hold on in the end. After Yuan sent 7, he saw his ninth brother clicking into the input field. Then the man waited until the final second before using his slender finger to reply with a period. Lin Kei sighed. He has a tight leash around him several days ago. When ninth brother returned in the middle of his date with Yuan, his expression was so frightening that Lin Kei didn't dare to stay within 10 steps of him for a few days. Lin Kei hypothesized that there had to be some enormous romantic trouble, and they might have even broken up, so he probably wouldn't be stuffed with dog food for a while. Who knew? He still underestimated Yuan's shamelessness. How could that woman act like this? Her beau was clearly ignoring her, so she should at least act more reserved and ignore him too. Why would you madly barrage him with messages? What astounded Lin Kei even more was his ninth brother's reaction. This period was sent too obediently, right? Currently, at the Fearless Alliance, her fingers were aching from her typing, her phone was heating up, and her keys were about to break from her typing. So Yuan finally stopped her bombardment. Yuan was incredibly satisfied as she stared at the little period sitting on her phone screen. Her darling was seriously adorable. Damn, how did he respond? Why is his phone smiling like an idiot? Just what kind of sweet talk is it? Is this vinegar owner that slick? Big Dipper was over himself with curiosity and sneakily leaned closer to take a peek. Just what in the world did he send? 7-Star pretended to be uninterested on the surface, but his gaze subconsciously trailed Big Dipper. Big Dipper leaned closer with difficulty. A second later, his face froze. Detecting Big Dipper's peeping, Yuan shot him a glare and clutched her phone like it was a treasure. Do you want to die, huh? Big Dipper was incredulous. Sis phone, did you take the wrong medicine? Or did this vinegar owner feed you some poisonous vinegar? Fuck, you sent so many messages to him, but he didn't respond with a single word. He responded with just a period. Yet you're so happy? When 7-Star heard Big Dipper, his face was also indescribable. Just a period? Yuan continued to look at her phone in euphoria and uncaringly answered, What would a single loner like you know? Sis phone, talking is fine, but how could you attack me so personally? Big Dipper protested. Yi Wanwan ignored him and kept sending messages as she casually asked, "Prison's conference is tomorrow, right?" Big Dipper nodded. "Yes, that's right." "And all right, got it." Yi Wanwan waved her hand, signaling he could get lost. Big Dipper scratched his head and curiously mumbled to himself, "Just what kind of divine being is this vinegar owner?" At Azura, when the higher-ups saw their lord's phone finally stopping its crazy ringing, they simultaneously relaxed. Utterly frightening. Was there some urgent news? Ding dong. Another ring was heard. Sihan read Yi Wanwan's reply. "MW, I'm glad you're fine. I thought you also got kidnapped by goblins." Kidnapped by goblins? Sihan mulled it over as he stared at the message. She was probably referring to the fact that many leaders went missing recently. His current information told him that Ji Shiran also disappeared. Is she panicking? Yi Wanwan never would have imagined the certain person who just got pacified a little bit planted head first into a sea of vinegar once again because of his own imagination filling in the blanks. Chapter 1981, Don't Want to Have Children with Him. Sihan silently stared at the screen full of messages from Yi Wanwan, especially at the "we've slept together and we have a 5-year-old child" part. We have a 5-year-old child. Heh. If that was the truth, it would probably be the most blessed thing that had ever happened to him. Back then, in the thick of their passion, he once casually said, "If we have a child in the future," but was interrupted by her before he could finish. He could clearly remember the panic and rejection in her expression as she said she didn't like children at all and definitely wouldn't have any. It wasn't that she didn't like children. She merely didn't want to have children with him, right? Ever since then, he had never brought up this topic again. Yi Wanwan had no idea that Sihan had sunken into a deeper and sourer sea of vinegar by this point. Instead, she was flipping through the missions she accepted last time to see which one she could finish in the shortest amount of time and obtain her honor points. Right now, she urgently wanted to recover her memories, especially the ones with Sihan. In her previous hypnosis sessions, she truly didn't recover many memories related to Sihan. Last time, she finished an S+ rank mission and an S rank mission and broke 2 records, earning 45,000 honor points. 5,000 more honor points, and she could request a 3rd hypnosis session from the headmaster. However, what was tragic was that she still owed the headmaster 20,000 honor points, and that old fox probably wouldn't get tricked so easily this time and allow her to have an outstanding account again. So, she probably needed to get her hands on more honor points first. In other words, combined with the 20,000 honor points she owed, she needed 25,000 honor points. Finishing 1 S+ or S rank missions would be enough, but that was easier said than done. She couldn't trick her way through all of the high-ranked missions. And which one should I do? These lousy missions are too difficult. Yi Wanwan was going to turn bald from her worry. What's this? Steal back Scarlet Flames Academy's school monument? Huh. What does stealing back Scarlet Flames Academy's school monument mean? A school monument can be stolen? That thing is such an old and big piece of rock. It wasn't worth anything, nor was it engraved with any secret martial techniques. It was only engraved with the words Scarlet Flames Academy and the Academy's rules and motto. So who would be so bored as to steal such a thing? 7-Star replied, 7 years ago, the school monument at the entrance of Scarlet Flames Academy vanished without a trace. The next day, someone discovered the culprit leaving behind the name of Heavenly Hatred's leader, Jiang Lian. People say Jiang Lian used to be a student at Scarlet Flames Academy and was also an SSS rank mercenary. In the end, he was expelled from Scarlet Flames Academy due to seriously violating the rules. Jiang Lian nursed this grievance in his heart. So he stole Scarlet Flames Academy's school monument? Yi Wanwan finished. Yes, 7-Star responded. This person's way of thinking is truly odd. This revenge was seriously revolting. I won't attack you or kill you. I'll just directly take your school monument with the school rules. This was an extraordinary source of shame and humiliation to such an ancient and well-known academy. 7-Star elaborated. Because of this, the higher-ups at Scarlet Flames Academy were furious and issued this S-rank mission to all the students. This mission is open to everyone in the independent state, not just members of the academy. As long as they can help retrieve the school monument, Scarlet Flames will give a generous reward. Unfortunately, it's been 7 years, but not a single person was able to retrieve the school monument. Yuan rubbed her chin, realization dawning on her. Tut-tut, no wonder it's worth so many honor points. Chapter 1982, It's a Travesty You're Dressed Like This. How valuable. How valuable. There weren't many missions of S rank or higher, and missions that were S to rank were even rarer, so obtaining so many honor points in such a short amount of time was truly too difficult. Big Dipper frightfully cried. Sis Feng, you aren't thinking about doing this mission, right? It's Heavenly Hatred, an entity scarier than Azura. Actually, both Heavenly Hatred and Azura had equal strength as part of Prison's 3 core factions. Azura might even be a tad superior, but Azura went into hiding for many years while Heavenly Hatred maintained its high-profile activity, so Heavenly Hatred was more infamous in the independent state. Yuan irritatedly retorted, Am I mad? Why would I serve my head on a silver platter for no reason? That mission is a pass. There's no way I could do it. However, right now, she had trouble coming from within, so she urgently needed to recover her memories. Tomorrow's conference was such a good opportunity, and she'd be able to see the leader of Heavenly Hatred, so perhaps she can negotiate with him directly and see if she could obtain it somehow. The probability was low, but it was 15,000 honor points. Soon, the next day arrived. Yuan turned her wardrobe upside down and finally pulled out a princess dress. Big Dipper was utterly flabbergasted. Sis Feng, you aren't planning to wear this dress, right? Calm down. I'm begging you. This is Prison's conference. If you wear this dress there, we'll be ridiculed by the entire independent state for a whole year. Yuan glared at him. Don't be ridiculous. What about this dress, huh? It's so pretty. Big Dipper stared at the dress in Yuan's hands. It couldn't be any pinker and was covered in flowery lace borders and ribbons and had a matching pair of white knee-high socks. It was seriously too cute. Big Dipper clutched his nose. It is pretty, but you're the president of the Fearless Alliance. It'd be a travesty if you wore this. Yuan's face darkened. She was a girl too. So how is it a travesty if she wore this? Yuan blurted without thinking. I'm going on a date. Do you want me to wear that dirty and scraggy beggar outfit there? That's a travesty. Big Dipper, date? Isn't she going to conference? Are you too lazy to even conceal your intentions? Don't you already have your vinegar factory owner? Why haven't you given up on Lord Azura yet? Can you digest them all? While Big Dipper launched complaint after complaint inwardly, 7-Star contributed his opinion from the side. Lord Azura probably won't like this outfit. Yuan was startled. Oh, right. That guy's taste had always been very strange, and regardless of what she wore, it would probably be the same to him. Fine. I'll wear my normal outfit. Yuan pursed her lips unhappily. Big Dipper released a fierce sigh of relief and quietly whispered, Old 7, good job. In the end, Yuan still wore the Fearless Alliance's uniform, her signature black beggar's clothes. It was loose and casual, but not as tattered as before. 7-Star had tailored a brand-new, custom-made outfit for her, with a gigantic Fearless embroidered in cursive on the back. This outfit complemented and suited Yuan's languid and nonchalant aura rather well, giving her the feeling of an expert. Yuan was reluctantly satisfied as she surveyed herself in the mirror and finally entered the car, heading for the location of the conference. Prison seriously knew how to treat themselves. The conference was held at a hot springs resort. It had gorgeous scenery and was equipped with all sorts of entertainment options and services. The conference started at night, so everyone could have some fun and relax before the conference. Chapter 1983, taking this face into consideration, Yihan still acted aloof toward Yuan and wouldn't answer unless she madly bombarded him in messages. However, Yuan didn't mind and would send a few messages whenever she was free regardless of whether he responded or not. As soon as she arrived and got out of the car, she sent him a message. Darling, I'm here. Are you also here? Big Dipper happened to see the message Yuan sent to the owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory, and his eyes popped out of their sockets. Damn, what's going on? Could it be this owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory was also one of the attendees of today's conference? Yuan didn't notice Big Dipper peeping and cheerily continued to send messages. At the same time, at a certain villa in the depths of the Hot Springs Resort, 3 people sat under a gigantic ancient locust tree. Say, old Xia, why are you holding a conference for no reason? Why did you have to drag me back to this terrible place from China? I'm bored to death. One of the people voiced his complaints while looking incredibly bored. He had a head of curly brown hair that reached his shoulders and was wearing a wine-red silk dress shirt with only one button crookedly fastened by his collar, while the rest were casually unfastened. The man sitting across from the speaker had his black, short hair combed back and was wearing an iron gray suit and a grave and stern expression. Hearing that, he took a sip of the pu'er tea from his cup before retorting in disapproval. You've already gone out and had your fun for 3 months. Isn't that enough? It's time to do business. The red shirt man pursed his lips and turned to the man who had been staring at his phone since he sat down under the shade of the tree before complaining. Hey, isn't that unfair? Old Xia, I only had 3 months of fun, but I frolicked around in China for several years, all right? Why aren't you lecturing him? Also, that irresponsible older brother of yours flat out handed the responsibility to you before running to China to have fun. He even relied on his face and schmoozed into getting the undeserved title of Best Actor. He's deceived so many adorable young women. He's utterly shameless. Xie Qianchuan, the man wearing an iron gray suit, didn't want to mention his awful elder brother and glanced at Si Yin. When Xie Qianchuan saw that the other man wasn't listening to them at all and had his head lost in the clouds, he exasperatedly asked, Ai, are you waiting for a call? No, the man calmly replied as he looked up, revealing a gorgeous face that made the scenery around them dim in color. Jiang Lihan was contemptuous. What? You're clearly absent-minded. Look at him, old Xia. He's obviously indulging in pleasure and forgetting his home and duties. His heart is obviously elsewhere. Don't misuse idioms, Xie Qianchuan admonished, his head pounding. At that moment, a message tone chimed from Si Yihan's phone. Si Yihan clicked open the message almost instantly. MW, darling, I'm here. Are you also here? She also came today. As though he had been waiting for this news all along, Si Yihan's worries finally eased. However, he both wanted to see her and was afraid of seeing her. Jiang Lihan raised his brows. What happened? Did some trouble arise from the ancient clan again? Aside from that, he seriously didn't know what could dominate that guy's attention so much. Xie Qianchuan also asked, Is it your mother? Chilliness surfaced in Si Yihan's eyes. She's no longer related to me. Jiang Lihan curled his lips. That's true. You paid back everything you owed back then. So why are you so absent-minded? Si Yihan's face was frosty. None of your business. Fisk, you're still as unlikable as before. However, taking your face into consideration, I'll forgive you, Jiang Lihan said. Xie Qianchuan interjected. Ollie, have you prepared the speech I told you to prepare yet? Chapter 1984 Damn, faced Jiang Lihan glanced at Xie Qianchuan before promptly clutching his eyes like he was in immense agony. Old Xie, you're too ugly. Don't talk to me. Ever since Gigi ran away and you became the leader, I've had to see your face every day. I'm at the limits of my partnership with your Slaughter's Gate. Treasure me well, all right? I've given up so much for our alliance. Xie Qianchuan's face was as dark as the bottom of a pan. No matter how you looked at it, his face was still rather handsome. It merely wasn't as pretty as his brother, that temptress, and Si Yihan's heaven-defying face. All right? How is it too ugly? This damn face judger. Xie Qianchuan seriously wanted to give him a round of kicking. Jiang Lihan acted like he didn't see Xie Qianchuan's glowering expression and stood up to stretch. Being with you two dull guys is truly too boring. I'm better off going to soak in the hot springs. Bye-bye. Before leaving, Jiang Lihan didn't forget to suicidally attempt to touch Siyi's face. Ai, tell me. You have such a good-looking face, so can't you show a few more expressions? Looking so serious every day is so boring. Before Jiang Lihan could touch him, Siyin moved away, his expressionless face so chilly it could freeze someone. Do you want to die? Oomph. I won't believe it. Isn't there something that can make you change your expression? Jiang Lihan yanked his hand back and angrily walked away. Big Dipper was still in shock about the fact that the vinegar factory owner was attending today's conference when Yuan said, "There's some free time now, so do whatever you want." She couldn't express her wish to get rid of them any clearer. Out of the question. Crooks are mixed in with the honest folks in this place, so we need to closely protect you. 7-Star was disapproving. This is a conference hosted by prison, so who would dare to cause trouble here? Don't worry, you two. Just treat this as a vacation. It's not good to enjoy being a third wheel at such a young age. After saying that, Yuan ditched Big Dipper and 7-Star and headed toward the entrance to the Hot Springs Resort by herself with the invitation in hand. Big Dipper, 7-Star. The last sentence was the main point, right? After entering the resort, Yuan started strolling around randomly without a destination in mind. She didn't have any other methods since there was no way she could meet with the leader of heavenly hatred at her current level, and it wouldn't be convenient to talk during the conference itself, so she had to try her luck. Yuan seemed to have arrived early since the place was fairly empty, and she didn't run into any people. As she went deeper down the path, mist curled around the air as she entered the hot springs. Yuan crossed a path made of blue stones and saw a person soaking in the hot springs up ahead. The man's back was to her, so she couldn't see his face. Seeing someone there, Yuan was about to turn around when an odd feeling struck her, halting her steps. This person's silhouette was somewhat familiar. Whether it was before she lost her memories or after, she had never seen the leader of heavenly hatred. So she searched for photos of Jiang Lihan from some newspapers and magazines in the independent state. Heavenly hatred and Slaughter's Gate, especially heavenly hatred, were very high profile and made frequent public appearances, so photos of them weren't difficult to find. She remembered Jiang Lihan had a head of signature brown, curly hair that reached his shoulders. Just like this man soaking in the hot spring in front of her. Could it be? Yuan furtively asked, "Gang leader, Jiang?" When a man in the hot spring heard this, he lazily opened his eyes and turned to look behind him. Chapter 1985, What was there to treasure about that thing? The man turned around, accompanied by the sound of water splashing. Yuan's face filled joyful surprise when she recognized the man as Jiang Lihan. "Gang leader Jiang, nice to meet you." Yuan hastily greeted. "You are." The man examined the girl with narrowed eyes, a sharp glint flashing through them. Yuan directly turned around, showing him the characters on her back. "Oh, the Fearless Alliance." Jiang Lihan lightly chuckled due to Yuan's unique self-introduction. "Nice to meet you, President Bai. Want to join me for a soak?" "Yuan, please. Can't someone treat me like a woman?" No thanks. Actually, I was specifically looking for you, Gang Leader Jiang, because I have a request to make. I didn't expect to be so lucky and really run into you," Yuan frankly said. "Oh." Jiang Lihan sardonically glanced at her. "Actually, if this was any other day and someone interrupted my soak in the hot springs, they'd probably be a corpse by now." Yuan reflexively took a step back. This man in front of her really wasn't someone to be trifled with. However, Jiang Lihan looked her up and down before finally focusing on her face. "However, your face is enough to make me give you 3 minutes." Yuan, should I feel honored? Jiang Lihan slouched forward on the side of the hot spring and continued, his eyes bright. "If you're willing to change into female clothes and come see me again in a dress, perhaps I can give you 5 minutes." Yuan, that's a viable approach too? Jiang Lihan continued. If you're willing to let down your long hair, I can give you another minute." Yuan, I'm so grateful to you. At that moment, Yuan felt Lady Luck smiling on her. So this Jiang Lihin was probably a kindred spirit? An awful face judger, too? She had only heard that this guy had a terrible sense of humor and liked to pull pranks. Why didn't she discover he was also a face judger? She didn't expect her face to come into use too. An unexpected gain. Ahem. 3 minutes is enough. Yuan quickly answered after calming down. Jiang Lihin looked regretful. All right then. Tell me whatever you want. Yuan swiftly expressed her intentions. I want the school monument of Scarlet Flames Academy. Name a price. Gang leader Jiang. Jiang Lihin was initially startled before promptly laughing out loud. Little girl, you seriously know how to make crazy demands. Don't you know that thing is my most prized and adored possession in my life? Yuan. She really didn't understand what there was to treasure about that thing. Jiang Lihin combed back the wet hair hanging on his forehead. Every time I see that thing, I can imagine that old codger's furiously stomping appearance. It's truly too fun, isn't it? Yuan, when he says that old codger, he's referring to the elderly headmaster of Scarlet Flames Academy, right? This person really has a terrible sense of humor. The rumors are completely right about this part. Then, what would make you willing to give that school monument to me? Anything as long as it's within my capabilities. Yuan made another attempt. Jiang Lihan hummed in contemplation as he mulled over it. Well, it's not improbable. As long as you can show me a better, more fun spectacle. Yuan was exasperated. How can I show him a more fun spectacle? What better spectacle are you referring to, gang leader Jiang? Yuan tentatively inquired. Chapter 1986. Will you play or not? Let me think. Jiang Lihin lowered his head in serious contemplation and snapped his fingers a few seconds later. All right. Do you know Lord Azura? Have you seen him? I know him. I've seen him. Yuan didn't expect him to suddenly mention Lord Azura, so she was briefly startled. Jiang Lihin sighed. That guy is seriously too boring. I really want to see something interesting from him. So what do you want to see? Yuan asked. How about you forcefully kiss him and let me see his reaction? Jiang Lihin looked energized, thinking that he thought of a splendid idea. Yuan's eyes shot open, and she was silent for a while. Are you serious? Why would he have such a strange request? Also, boss, do you know? This might be a freebie point. Of course I'm serious. How about it? Will you take a shot? You have to know what that guy hates the most is other people touching him, especially women. If you dare, I'll give you what you want. Jiang Lihin was fired up with excitement. Yuan responded seriously. Gang leader Jiang, your request is too difficult. Aren't you asking for my death? If this was someone else, this request would definitely cost them their life. No one in the independent state would dare to do such a thing, but Jiang Lihin clearly raised such a request despite knowing it was impossible. Jiang Lihin blinked and asked, You demanded my little treasure as soon as you got here. You're also asking for my life. I'm the one at a disadvantage. Yuan, how can this person be so shameless? Yuan answered, Fine, I'll go. But we have a deal. Don't weasel out of it shamelessly after I've done the act. You're really going? TSK. I've always harbored Flat Top as gutsy, but didn't expect that you were actually an idiot, not gutsy. An ignorant person is truly fearless and missing several brain cells. Jiang Lihin had a sympathetic expression on his face. Isn't someone who would run to do such a suicidal thing an idiot? Yuan took a deep breath and chanted to herself 100 times 15,000 honor points to keep herself from blowing up on him. So will you play or not? As long as you agree, I won't go back on our deal. I won't. I absolutely won't. As long as you dare. Jiang Lihin vigorously shook his head. All right. And just as Yuan was about to agree, Jiang Lihin suddenly revoked his demand. Paragraph break? Hold on. I changed my mind. This isn't fun. It would be so boring if you ran away right after you kissed him. Yuan took another deep breath. What else do you want? Jiang Lihin reconsidered it for half a day. Hold on. There has to be a condition. There's got to be a time stipulation. You need to kiss him for a full minute, and you must kiss his lips. Anywhere else won't count. Yu Wanwan rolled her eyes at him. Boss, kill me right now. Read the next chapter on our VIP novel. Calm Jiang Lihan didn't seem to think he was too demanding. The kiss on the lips can't be changed, but the time can be slightly reduced. How about 30 seconds? How many seconds do you think it'd take for Lord Azura to kill me? And how about 10 seconds? It can't be any shorter. Yu Wanwan took a deep breath. Fine. If this was their honeymoon period, she could kiss him however long she wanted. But considering her current relationship with Si Yihan, lasting a mere 10 seconds was slightly dangerous. Coincidentally, shortly after she and Jiang Lihan finished negotiating, the sound of footsteps was heard nearby. Soon, they saw two men dressed in bathrobes heading their way. Yi Wanwan recognized the man in front as the leader of Slaughter's Gate, Xie Qianchuan, and the man a step behind him was the protagonist of their bet. Lord Azura. Jiang Lihan urgently sent her a look. Action. Chapter 1987. The forcefully kissed Lord Azura Si Yihan was forcefully dragged there by Xie Qianchuan to soak in the hot spring and relax. Jiang Lihan and Si Yihan. One of them was lazy as heck and always ran off to have fun, slacking off and going on strike because Xie Qianchuan was too ugly, while the other worked day and night without rest and couldn't be pulled away from his work. He was seriously wretched by anxiety. Si Yihan's thoughts were still preoccupied by Yi Wanwan's message just now. He knew she had probably arrived at the resort already, but never would have expected to run into her here, and in this kind of situation too. Jiang Lihan was soaking in the hot spring and leaning against the side as he said something while looking happy. That guy, Jiang Lihan, liked to soak naked, so he definitely wasn't wearing a single piece of clothing. Although Si knew Yi Wanwan couldn't see anything from her distance and angle, this scene still made fury boil in his veins. Why is she here? What's she talking about with Jiang Lihan? Why do they look so happy chatting? When Yi Wanwan turned around, what entered her sight was Si Yihan's extremely awful and chilly expression. Ah, damn it, he really is still angry. What should I do? My honor points. At that moment, Jiang Lihan just had to mouth the sentence. Complete the task within 1 hour, to her. Yi Wanwan was about to pass out from anger. Why did this bastard keep randomly adding conditions in the middle of things? If she had to do it within 1 hour, this current moment was most likely the only chance she would get to see Si Yihan. Yi Wanwan was afraid Jiang Lihan would capriciously add another odd stipulation. So she had no choice but to swiftly sprint towards Si Yihan, mulling over her tactic as she stared at him. What should I do? If I kiss him as soon as I run up to him, it's very possible I'll be interrupted and won't last 10 seconds. After all, when that guy was grouchy with her before, he wouldn't let her even touch his hand. So how could he allow her to kiss him? However, if she needed to explain things to him, how the fuck should she start? As Si Yihan watched the girl suddenly charging up to him, his brows furrowed. Wanwan's expression looked very angry. She's angry. What's she angry about? All right, President Bai. Yi Wanwan heard Jiang Lihan calling her again. Don't tell me he's adding another condition. In her urgency, Yi Wanwan didn't have time to think anymore and fiercely pounced towards Si Yihan. As expected, she saw Si Yihan subconsciously leaning back to dodge her. So Yi Wanwan leaned close to his ear and threatened him as she gritted her teeth. No, dodging. You aren't allowed to move for 10 seconds no matter what I do. Otherwise, I'm going to bring a loudspeaker to the rooftop of the Martial Arts Union. Yi Wanwan used the same trick as before. Si Yihan became dazed when he met her vicious gaze and really didn't move another inch. However, it wasn't due to her threat. It was because her eyes were so close to him. The brilliant light in her eyes was so close to him. He couldn't look away. Yi Wanwan was surprised by this reaction and quickly stood on her tippy toes, snatching the opportunity to press a kiss on Si Yihan's lips. When her soft lips met his mouth, Si Yihan felt like he was awoken from a dream, disbelief brimming from his eyes, and his hand, which was next to her, reflexively lifted. He didn't expect her to suddenly kiss him there, so he dumbfoundedly stared at her. You Yi Wanwan thought Si Yihan was about to move away and became anxious. She tightly looped her arms around his neck, pulling him toward him and kissing him harder. At the same time, she quietly warned him, no moving. Chapter 1988, Who Gave Her the Guts? And so, Si Yihan's spine stiffened as he returned to being an unmoving statue, allowing the girl's lips to remain pressed against his, and he even softly bit her lips. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Si Yihan didn't know how much time passed, but it was long enough to make him understand this wasn't a delusion. At that moment, an enormous crash, accompanied by the sound of water splashing, was heard. Blah. Cough, 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 cough. Shit. Jiang Lihan shouted as he accidentally slipped into the hot spring from excessive shock. No way could he have expected this woman would seriously dare to kiss the guy. Damn, who gave her the guts? Did she really want to die? Xie Qianxuan also looked astonished as he stood there, disoriented, as he stared in disbelief at the girl who suddenly launched herself at Si Yihan and forcefully kissed him. Where did this girl come from? Is she mad? Does she know what she's doing? Si Yihan, Lord Azura of Azura, actually got forcefully kissed by a woman in my territory? Damn, President Bai, aren't you too dicey? Not caring about life or death and taking up arms at a moment's whim. You truly deserve the title of Bro Flat Top. Jiang Lihan finally managed to staggeringly crawl back up and gasp in amazement. He even started clapping. As he spoke, Yi Wanwan reached 10 seconds in her kiss. Si Yihan really didn't move at all from start to end. Jiang Lihan felt like Si Yihan had to be stunned by anger, so he sympathetically looked at Yi Wanwan and said, President Bai, do you need me to go to the Fearless Alliance and inform them to start preparing your funeral and burial? Then he turned to Si Yihan with a schadenfreude smile. Not bad, not bad. I successfully managed to see an incredibly shocked expression on this guy's face, alas. This really wasn't easy at all. Next, he will definitely start killing people in his rage. Right? Right? Hee hee. As Jiang Lihan thought that, he stretched his neck toward the duo and watched the upcoming show with immense anticipation. Xie Qianchuan was able to guess Yi Wanwan's identity based on her outfit and Jiang Lihan's words just now. Although he was still clueless about the situation, he knew this woman was definitely going to die. However, it seriously wasn't appropriate to spill blood during today's circumstances. They came here to make alliances. Things would go down the drain if a leader suddenly died, and by way of murder too. What was most wretched was that this woman committed such a contemptible crime against Si Yihan. So how could she still be allowed to live? Xie Qianxuan was racking his brain on how he could convince Si Yihan to act otherwise, but was startled by the events a second later. Si Yihan's brain was still out of order earlier, but he quickly collected his thoughts and could tell there was something fishy about Yi Wanwan suddenly kissing him based on Jiang Lian's reaction. He thought it was very probable Wanwan didn't kiss him because she wanted to kiss him just now. There was another reason. This knowledge turned the ice in Si Yihan's eyes into a blazing inferno. Phew, that was close, that was close. She reached 10 seconds, and Jiang Lihan personally witnessed it, so he couldn't deny anything this time, right? Yi Wanwan finally relaxed after meeting the terms, but instantly became dumbstruck when she met Si Yihan's flaming eyes a second later. I'm doomed. How should I placate this guy in front of me? About that, actually, I can explain. Yi Wanwan raised her hands, attempting to beg for mercy. He won't allow you any time to say your last words. Jiang Lihan was still giggling and rejoicing in her misfortune. Annoyance filled Yi Wanwan's face. Why does this guy deserve a beating so much? No need to explain. Si Yihan's frighteningly chilly voice rang out next to her ears. Yi Wanwan's poor heart jumped in fright, and she urgently mobilized her brain cells to think of a solution. Si Yihan stared at her face intensely and leaned down a second later, abruptly kissing her on the lips. Chapter 1989, where neither pure nor innocent caught off guard by this kiss. Yi Wanwan was bewildered. Who am I? Where am I? Well, what is going on? As for Jiang Lihin, he was originally waiting for Si Yihin to purge the place with blood, but instead, Si Yihin kissed her back of his own will. Jiang Lihin was absolutely stupefied and felt as if the deepest part of his soul just suffered a heavy blow. A second later, a plop was heard as Jiang Lihin, who just steadied himself, slipped back into the water. Xie Qianchuan's fisted hand covered his mouth as a round of intense coughing seized him. Gurgle, gurgle. Jiang Lihin finally managed to get back on his feet after swallowing several mouthfuls of water. Jiang Lihin couldn't believe this scene before his eyes at all and crazily rubbed his temples. No, no, no. I must have gotten dizzy from soaking in the hot spring for too long. However, while he was consoling himself, a second later, he saw Si Yihin lean down and gently place a light peck on Bai Feng's lips again, as though savoring the last second. Then Si Yihin aloofly said, "We're even now." Jiang Lihin was stupefied. The question, did this world collapse on itself, was written all over his face. How was this fucking even? Even if you beat him to death, he never would have expected this development. Si Yihin glanced at Jiang Lihin in the hot spring and picked up a giant bath towel sitting on a nearby shelf before casually throwing it onto Jiang Lihin, tightly covering the man up from the face down. Jiang Lihin hastily pulled off the towel from his head. "Shit, what are you doing? Are you trying to suffocate me to death?" Si Yihin still wasn't satisfied and turned his gaze on his Xie Qianchuan. Although Xie Qianchuan was wearing a bathrobe, it was loosely open and the belt wasn't tied. Si Yihin stared at him. "Belt? Tie it." "Eh. Oh, okay." Xie Qianchuan had no idea why he felt scared by Si Yihin, so he obediently tied his bathrobe. What the heck was this? "Ai, did you take the wrong medicine?" Jiang Lihin incredulously looked at the man in front of him. Read the next chapter on our VIP novel. However, Si Yihin's world was obviously only composed of one person right now, so he ignored Jiang Lihin and turned to Yuanwan. "Explain." "It's over. He was finally executing me." Yuanwan played with her fingers and quickly admitted her wrongdoings without hesitation. "I was wrong." After saying that, Yuanwan felt something was off. Why the heck did she have to apologize? Yuanwan immediately changed her attitude and self-righteously corrected herself. "Wait, why am I explaining? Are you saying I need a reason to kiss you?" Looking at the girl's justified expression, Si Yihin couldn't figure out what to say. On the side, Jiang Lihin, who found himself feeling a little cold, looked at Si Yihin, then Yuanwan, finally detecting something strange about the atmosphere around these two people. He forcefully flung off the towel on his head and intently stared at Yuanwan as he angrily shouted, Hold on. Damn, by phone, you freaking dare to trick me. You've long had an affair with this guy, right?" Yuanwan, he finally realized. But it was too late now. Yuanwan seriously said, "Nope, you're overthinking. We're pure and innocent." The second she said that, a slender finger gently rubbed her ear. Seeing her attempt to wash away her relationship with him in front of Jiang Lihin, Si Yihin's deep and husky voice spoke above her head, enunciating each word carefully, "Pure and innocent." Chapter 1990, Do You Want to See Me Lose Control? Yuanwan's heart skipped a beat. She looked up at Si Yihin with a smile and corrected herself. No. We're neither pure nor innocent. I was just fooling Jiang Lihin." "I heard that," Jiang Lihin shouted. Yuanwan had no choice but to throw all caution to the wind. "Ahem, fine, you heard it. Gang leader Jiang, it was you who set the conditions, and you didn't ask whether my relationship with Lord Azura was pure and innocent or not. Don't tell me you're going back on your word now." Jiang Lihin wiped the water off his face, malice in his eyes. President Bai, nicely done. You even dared to trick me." He truly deserved to be the boss most guilty of monstrous crimes amongst the three leaders of prison. The aura he exerted when his expression darkened caused the temperature around the hot springs to lower several degrees. Yuanwan shuddered in fright and subconsciously hid behind Si Yihin. Si Yihin peered down at Yi Wanwan with his brows slightly furrowed before his gaze sharp as a sword shot toward Jiang Lihin and the complete nakedness he revealed after standing up. Dress yourself. You think I'll get dressed just because you told me to? Jiang Lihin retorted with a cold expression, but promptly picked up the nearby towel with a swish 3 seconds later and obediently wrapped it around himself. I'm just a little cold. It wasn't my fault. Yi Wanwan hastily scrambled to adamantly clear herself from this fiasco and assert her innocence. She swiftly shifted the blame to Jiang Lihin, selling him out. I merely came here to ask gang leader Jiang if he could lend me a hand and give me Scarlet Flames Academy's school monument. Say, if he didn't want to give it to me, he could have told me. I wouldn't have raised any objections, but he tricked me. Wait, no, he tricked you. He said he specifically wanted to see what you looked like when your stoic face lost control. So he coerced me into forcefully kissing you and said he would give a monument to me if I dare to do it. Is that so? You want to see me lose control? Si Yihin asked. No, I didn't. I don't want to. Jiang Lihin fiercely glared at the tattling Yi Wanwan, nearly angered to the point of spitting blood. Fuck me. It was a private bet, but this gal actually tattled on me to the parent. Is she an elementary school student? Jiang Lihin was fuming with rage, with gritted teeth, still unwilling to believe it. This is impossible. When the heck did you two get together? Doesn't Yi have an innocent, kind-hearted, perfect, and irreplaceable first love? Lord Azura and Bro Flat Top. What kind of strange pairing is this? Yi Wanwan was astonished when she heard that. This was a heavy load of information. It wasn't any inferior to that time when Autumn Water exposed her relationship with Ji Shiran. Si Yihin actually had a pure and kind-hearted first love. Yi Wanwan hummed before answering. That's right. I am that pure, kind-hearted, and perfect first love. Si Yihin. Jiang Lihin laughed in his anger. President Bai, don't you have any idea what your reputation is? Can't you have a little shame? Yi Wanwan's gaze instantly shot towards Si Yihin. Agio, your first love. Am I not that pure and kind-hearted first love in your heart? Si Yihin looked dazed, and he didn't answer. Yi Wanwan intently bore into him. After what seemed like forever, a cool voice was finally heard. Yes. It was a short word, but it caused Yi Wanwan's heart to start pounding crazily. Padump, padump. Damn, it really was me. This is a little alarming. Yi Wanwan didn't know why. Perhaps it was her subconscious that made her feel like that person was her. However, she still couldn't help but feel fairly surprised when she really obtained a certain answer from Si Yihin. Chapter 1991, that is fairly thrilling my image in Si Yihin's heart, was actually this horrifying, pure, kind-hearted, perfect, etc. Yi Wanwan's desire to remember what in the world happened in the past intensified immensely. Jiang Lihin lost the willpower to say anything else. Let me calm down, gang leader Jiang. It's fine if you want to calm down, but can we cash in our bet first? Yi Wanwan hastily recalled their deal. Do you think I can carry such a large slab of rock with me, wherever I go? Yi Wanwan grinned. Then I'll have to trouble gang leader Jiang to have someone send it over later. You're the boss of heavenly hatred, gang leader Jiang, so I'm sure you won't withhold a slab of rock from me. Jiang Lihin's heart was dripping blood. He never would have expected the boat to turn or fail miserably and be tricked himself one day. Having obtained 15,000 honor points, Yi Wanwan's mood couldn't be any more elated. She turned to Si Yihin with admiration. Thank you, darling. You're seriously too awesome. Jiang Lihin. It's me who's giving you the school monument. What's awesome, huh? He did nothing. At that moment, a continuous ring tone was heard. It was 7-star calling Yi Wanwan. My deputy is looking for me. I'll get going now. She needed to hurry and dash before Jiang Lihin changed his mind. There were many things she wanted to know and ask Si Yihin, but this wasn't a good place for that conversation. After Yi Wanwan left, Jiang Lihin impatiently asked, Shit, what in the world is going on between you and Bai Feng? Si Yihin glanced at him aloofly. It's exactly what you saw. Damn, isn't this a bit too exciting? Wasn't the one who kidnapped you back, then, some insignificant lackey from the Fearless Alliance? I remember it was a pitiful, innocent flower forcefully abducted by the Fearless Alliance to slave for them. How did she become the notorious and monstrous president of the Fearless Alliance suddenly? Old Xie, I didn't remember things wrong, right? Xie Qianxuan coughed lightly and answered, I also remember it like that. Si Yihan's eyes dimmed, as though he was sinking into contemplation. In truth, ever since he learned Yi Wanwan became the president of the Fearless Alliance after returning to the independent state, he started suspecting this. And now, his suspicion was about to be proven. He was afraid that she wasn't some lackey underling controlled by the Fearless Alliance. Instead, she was the president of the Fearless Alliance by phone. Jiang Lihan might have a terrible sense of humor, but he fulfilled his end of the bet rather quickly and soon sent an enormous school monument to Yi Wanwan. When Yi Wanwan unveiled the red cloth covering the stone and saw the characters Scarlet Flame's Mercenary Academy carved on it, she was grinning from ear to ear. She never would have expected to obtain 15,000 honor points just like that. Ah, my little darling, my little precious, my honor points. In the midst of Yi Wanwan's burst of happiness, Big Dipper and 7-Star found her. Huffing and puffing, Sis Feng, we finally found you. Where did you run off to? 7-Star noticed the item in Yi Wanwan's hand. This is... what is this? Big Dipper focused on the item, and his eyes shot open. Shit, the school monument. Isn't this Scarlet Flame's Academy's school monument? How did you get it, Sis Feng? You actually managed to get your hands on this from Heavenly Hatred's boss. You're out of this world, Sis Feng. Big Dipper's eyes were shining and his face was reverent. 7-Star also looked very shocked. The leader of Heavenly Hatred isn't an amiable person. How did you successfully persuade him, Sis Feng? Yi Wanwan grimly answered, that process was fairly thrilling. It was a narrow escape. Chapter 1992 even went on a secret date. Yi Wanwan bragged from the earth to the high heavens and fabricated a giant battle, duping Big Dipper left and right. Although 7-Star felt something was amiss about this, he couldn't figure out how she managed to achieve this. What should we do with this monument now? Where should we put it? Big Dipper asked. Yi Wanwan instantly covered up the school monument, which was at least the height of an adult, with a piece of red silk cloth and hugged it. Carry it with me, of course. Big Dipper inquired. Carry it with you? Isn't this a little big? Yi Wanwan couldn't allow anyone else to bring it back without worrying, so she was adamant about personally delivering it to the academy and obtaining her honor points. This is 15,000 honor points, after all. Sis Feng, let me carry it, 7-Star offered. No need. I can carry it myself. 7-Star. Oh right, Sis Feng. You dashed off without a trace just now because you went to get this thingy? Big Dipper asked. Yi Wanwan replied. Yes, what about it? Big Dipper carefully probed. You didn't do anything else? She was busy snatching the school monument, so she definitely didn't have time to do anything else, right? I did. I even went on a secret date. Yi Wanwan responded. Big Dipper. Soon, all the major leaders arrived one after the other, and the conference officially began in the evening. The conference room was alive with conversation. The majority of people were discussing how many leaders in the independent state mysteriously disappeared recently. I heard even Emperor Ji fell victim. Just who in the world is so capable? Who knows? At that moment, two figures entered the room steps apart. The leading Xie Qianxuan was wearing an iron-gray suit and a grim, serious expression, while Jiang Lihan, who was behind him, strolled in lazily, seemingly in a bad mood based on his frightening expression. Everyone inside the conference room instantly quieted down, and their gazes shot toward the entrance. Yi Wanwan was sitting fairly far back, but she was holding an enormous object the height of a person with a bright red cloth covering over it, so she was rather eye-catching. Jiang Lihan paused in his steps and intently stared at the school monument in Yi Wanwan's arms and wanted to spit out blood from his rage. Sensing Jiang Lihan's unfriendly gaze, Yi Wanwan's hold on the monument promptly tightened. What are you doing? What are you doing? This is my little precious now. It's no longer your little darling. Ahem. Xie Qianchuan cleared his throat as a warning, and Zhang Lihan finally begrudgingly pulled his eyes away from the monument and started walking again before sitting down in one of the chief seats. Not long after Xie Qianchuan and Zhang Lihan sat down, the final leader of prison arrived. Silver-haired and black-clothed, with a handsome and perfect face akin to that of a vampire dwelling in the dark night. Damn, this is Lord Azura, right? TSK. Azura has returned in a swirl of dust. Prisons might has redoubled. I heard that prisons directors might be Xie Qianchuan and Zhang Lihan on the surface, but this Lord Azura is prison's true brain and soul in reality. If it weren't for Lord Azura abruptly disappearing back then, perhaps even the martial arts union wouldn't be able to suppress prison. Tisk. At the appearance of Si Yihan, Yuanwan was instantly energized, and her eyes shone as she turned to the man. Her gaze was truly too fervent, so Si Yihan couldn't ignore it even if he wanted to. His cool gaze involuntarily landed on her, but forcefully withdrew a second later. Upon seeing how he only locked his gaze with hers for a second before looking away, Yuanwan's expression darkened instantly, and sullenness overcame her. I merely kissed him. Does it need to be so petty? It was clearly an ability and duty well within my rights. Yuanwan was furious and only felt better after patting the monument by her hand. Forget it. At least he helped me earn so many honor points. However, Big Dipper just had to run his mouth off on the side. Sis Feng, stop looking. He's not someone you can have the hots for, all right? Yuanwan glanced at Big Dipper, unwilling to waste her words on him. Soon, First Elder, Second Elder, and some other members from the Fearless Alliance entered the conference room at the designated time and walked toward Yuanwan. President, this is... First Elder stared at the enormous, covered, and unknown object next to Yuanwan, astonished. Second Elder mused, could this be the greeting gift that the president prepared for prison? Big Dipper chortled. What are you saying? Sis Feng just stole this from prison. First Elder, Second Elder. At this conference, aside from all the notable bosses of the independent state, some higher-ups from various factions would also be present. Xie Qianchuan looked around the room, displeasure surfacing in his eyes, uninhibited. They invited many people using prison's title, but less than half of the invited guests attended. Receiving invitation from prison was truly an honor. Suddenly, the door to the room opened, and a beautiful woman entered first wearing a long dress with an incredibly haughty expression. Ma, the Nief family. Some leaders couldn't keep the surprise off their faces when they saw the woman. They didn't expect prison to also invite the 4 great clans of the independent state. For all of history, the 4 great clans in prison had always minded their own business and nearly never had any interactions, so the Nief family's attendance this time was rather unexpected. Nie Ling Long. When Yuanwan saw the woman leading the Nief family's group, her eyes glinted coldly. Nie Ling Long was actually attending this conference as the Nief family's representative. Who's the woman behind Nie Ling Long? Some higher-up asked curiously when they saw the woman behind Nie Ling Long. You don't know? That's Nie Ling Long's older sister and Nameless Nie's younger sister, Worryless Nie. She's the legendary prodigy from the Nie family, the long-missing Worryless Nie, the one engaged to Emperor Ji. That's right, that's her. After learning about Worryless Nie's identity, some higher-ups or leaders all voluntarily greeted Nie Ling Long with smiles on their faces. Everyone knew the Nie family had 3 children. The eldest was Nameless Nie, the second child was Worryless Nie, and the third child was Nie Ling Long. Currently, Madame Nie was getting on with her years, so based on the Nie family's rules and customs, it would probably soon be the time for the next head to take over managing the entire Nie family. The eldest child, Nameless Nie, had a rather bold and unrestrained personality and didn't bother with trifles. He was even considered a bit of an oddball. He was also very outspoken and didn't have enough EQ, so he frequently offended people. Hence, the Nye family absolutely wouldn't be handed over to nameless Nye. As for the third child, Nye Linglong, she was brought back to the Nye family by worryless Nye back then and was merely the Nye family's adopted daughter. Although she was more outstanding than worryless Nye now and was more suited for taking over the Nye family, she didn't carry the Nye family's blood herself, so she was an unlikely candidate probably. Hence, amongst the three siblings, the only possible candidate for inheriting the Nye family was this long-missing worryless Nye. If they befriended worryless Nye now, it would be the same as befriending the Nye family in the future. The Nye family was one of the independent state's 4 great clans, so there wasn't a faction that wanted to become enemies with them. Haha, they all say worryless Nye of Nye family has extraordinary looks and strength. Seeing you today, you truly deserve every bit of praise uttered, an elderly man said while looking at worryless Nye with a bellowing laugh. Worryless Nye immediately nodded at the elderly man with a smile in response. A moment later, Nye Linglong's gaze suddenly landed on the nearby Yi Wanwan, unconcealed disdain surfacing in her eyes. Worryless Nye followed Nye Linglong's gaze and turned to Yi Wanwan as well. She said genially, "It's President Bai." She paused before asking with a chuckle, "That's right, what identity is President Bai using to attend this conference?" Yi Wanwan looked to worryless Nye and replied expressionlessly, "What do you mean?" "Not much. I'm just curious whether President Bai is attending this conference as the president of the Fearless Alliance, or are you attending as our Nye family's foster daughter?" The fake worryless Nye snorted, and her lips curled up as she continued, "Everyone probably doesn't know, but the mighty President Bai of the Fearless Alliance, the one people call Bro Flat Top because she's indifferent to life and death and would pick up arms in an instant, is currently pestering our Nye family. She's impersonating a normal woman to worm into our Nye family, and she coerced and conned my mother to take her in as a foster daughter." Many higher-ups and leaders looked surprised at her words. The Fearless Alliance would actually do something like that? Didn't the Fearless Alliance have a hostile relationship with the Nye family several years ago? But now, Bai Feng of the Fearless Alliance was impersonating a normal woman and forcing Madame Nye to recognize her as a foster daughter? Wasn't this too? Haha. Niece worryless, as you said, this is the president of the Fearless Alliance. Everyone knows the Fearless Alliance's behavior and reputation in the independent state. Impersonating a normal woman and coercing Madame Nye to take her in as a foster daughter, isn't that typical? The Fearless Alliance has always been so thick-faced, a leader piped in with a smile. "Zhou Tai, what does this have to do with you?" Third elder looked at that leader darkly. "I seem to remember that you have another batch of supplies to send out soon, right, Zhou Tai? That's good. Our Fearless Alliance hasn't worked in a while, so just wait and see." The expression of the elderly man, Zhou Tai, shifted instantly. He stared at Yi Wanwan and coldly demanded, "This is the quality of the President Fearless, President Bai?" Yi Wanwan tilted her head and glanced at Zhou Tai before aloofly saying, "As you just said, Elder Zhou, our Fearless Alliance has always been this shameless." Veins popped out on Zhou Tai's forehead. "You're seriously freaking shameless." Before he could say anything else, the conference room door was opened again. A dozen or so elderly men entered the room with a man wearing a silver mask leading the way. Everyone's expressions shifted when they saw the newcomers. Yi Wanwan also couldn't withhold her astonishment. The Martial Arts Union. This chapter is scrapped from Riyadh Light Novel. Orb Prison actually invited the Martial Arts Union this time, too. Xie Qianchuan set his sights on the man and said, "Vice President, this is a conference summoned by prison. I don't quite remember when I invited the Martial Arts Union." While he was talking, the Vice President had found an empty chair to sit down on. He asked leisurely, "What? If the Martial Arts Union wants to come, we need someone to invite us?" When Xie Qianchuan heard the Vice President's response, his expression instantly chilled. As for the other factions, they were displeased, but no one dared to vocalize it or stick their necks out first. This vice president's words were extremely arrogant, but no one dared to refute him. The vice president's actions represented the entire martial arts union. Recently, many notable powerful figures in the independent state have gone missing, evoking fear in our residents. As the supervisor of the independent state, the martial arts union has the power to visit any place and investigate. Since prison initiated a meeting today and invited so many people, we came to take a look at the situation and listen to what you have to say. There aren't any problems with that. Who knows what you're plotting? Perhaps you were the culprits behind those people who went missing. It's hard to say, the vice president added. That seems reasonable. Reasonable your ass. What do the mysterious disappearances of Emperor G and those other people have anything to do with us? Exactly. You can abduct the sky or the earth, but who would dare to abduct Emperor G? They're talking so honorably, but who knows if it was the martial arts union who did it? Some higher-ups and leaders quietly discussed amongst themselves. All right, since the martial arts union suspects us to be the culprits, then you can investigate however you want. I truly hope you won't return empty-handed and will discover something, Vice President Jiang Lihin said with a snort. The martial arts union did indeed have the power of supervision in the independent state, an outcome decided through election from all the powers in the independent state back then. Since the martial arts union wanted to supervise them now, then they would be allowed to supervise. After all, the martial arts union had this spare time, and prison wouldn't lose anything either. Otherwise, if they kicked the martial arts union out, the residents of the independent state might think prison was guilty if news of this got out. The members of the martial arts union had just settled down, and the meeting was about to start when a large group of people burst into the room all of a sudden. The leader was around 28 or 29 years old and had an attractive appearance. He wore a normal casual outfit, but for some reason, he looked feminine and soft. Haha, things are truly lively, the leader commented with a light chuckle as his eyes swept across the room. It's him, one of the 8 gods under Emperor G, the second-ranked Guyu. Guyu is only ranked second. I heard he's incredibly talented, and he's Emperor G's most capable general. His abilities aren't any inferior to Emperor G. Who's number 1? I'm not certain. Only 7 of the 8 gods underneath Emperor G have revealed their faces. The last person is extremely enigmatic, and no one has ever seen him. Some people even say the final god of the 8 gods has been Emperor G himself all along. Yi Wanwan recognized the man next to Guyu. It was Skeleton, the man who frequently stayed by Emperor G's side and who was also one of the 8 gods. Have a seat, Xie Qianchuan said. Guyu smiled faintly and didn't waste any words before sitting down. Shit. Yi Wanwan's gaze coincidentally landed on one of the men standing with Emperor G's faction. This man was currently examining the room inquisitively. Yi Wanwan didn't know what to say. Why did Nameless Nye follow Emperor G's faction here and join in on the festivities? Yi Wanwan reflexively turned her head, hoping that Nameless Nye wouldn't see her. Haha, good sister, you're also here. The thing she was most afraid of happened anyway. Nameless Nye's gaze landed on Yi Wanwan, and he promptly strode toward Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan, what are you doing? Are you a zombie? Why aren't you getting a chair for me? Nameless Nye glanced at Big Dipper. Big Dipper had his mouth agape, clueless about this current situation. Since Yi Wanwan didn't say anything, he had no choice but to dumbfoundedly carry a chair and place it next to Yi Wanwan. After Nameless Nye sat down, Yi Wanwan immediately asked, why did you follow Ji Xiuran's people here instead of following the Nye family's people here? Yi Wanwan really couldn't comprehend this. Nameless Nye was at least the Nye family's eldest son. Did he have to go to this extent? Tisich, they wouldn't bring me, so what could I do? I could only follow old pal G's people here, Nameless Nye answered. Why did you come here? Yi Wanwan was curious. To investigate my old pal G's whereabouts, of course, and to see if there are any deals I can strike and earn some money and such. Nameless Nye grinned. Yi Wanwan. So, investigating Ji Xiuran's whereabouts was a cover-up, and looking for some business to earn money was the real deal, right? Yi Wanwan's heart immensely ached for Ji Xiuran. Just what kind of friend did he make? Oh right, Good sister. Nameless Nian naturally draped his arm around Yu Wanwan's neck and leaned in next to her ear before saying, how's your search for the antidote coming along? I'm truly beside myself with worry and heartache for you. Dead man told me you don't have much time left. Yu Wanwan, what the heck is you don't have much time left? Can't you filter yourself? Watching Nameless Nia latching his arm around Yi Wanwan's neck, a bone-chilling gaze shot from a certain man's eyes and pierced Nameless Nia. When Yi Wanwan sensed this icy chill, she couldn't help but shiver. Damn it, vinegar factory owner is starting to produce vinegar by the tons again. But this is my actual brother. Yi Wanwan had no choice but to naturally and inadvertently return Nameless Nia's arm to stop a certain someone from producing vinegar. Yi Wanwan didn't know if it was her misperception, but ever since she left the Fearless Alliance this morning, she felt something was wrong with her body. Doesn't this lousy place have any air conditioning? Why do I feel so hot? Nameless Nia was baffled. It's the middle of winter. What air conditioning? Yi Wanwan. Then why did she feel like an inferno was burning through her? Especially when her eyes met Si Yihan's. Read the next chapter on our VIP novel. Calm this entire time. That guy had an expression so frosty it formed icicles. What Yi Wanwan didn't notice was a handful of thin, light red lines faintly appearing on her neck and gradually spreading like a spider web. The final moment before the conference began, the members of the Shun family also arrived hastily. Aside from the Shun family, even the most low-profile of the four great clans, the Ling family, sent a representative there. The Ling family's representative was a middle-aged man. When the man entered the room, he couldn't help but take a few more looks at Yi Wanwan. When Yi Wanwan detected the man's gaze, she immediately looked over as well, but the man had already looked away and sat unmoving on his chair. Seeing that everyone had arrived, Xie Qianchuan and Jiang Lihin's eyes met before quickly announcing the start of the meeting. Prison is very grateful that everyone was able to come here today, Xie Qianchuan began. Jiang Lihin spoke next. Due to recent events, the topic of this meeting required a little adjustment. Everyone should know a certain event has been occurring in the independent state. A dozen or so good friends, including Emperor Ji, went missing mysteriously. We believe it absolutely isn't a simple matter. Yi Wanwan glanced at Jiang Lihin. Jiang Lihin had to be commended for having a silver tongue. Good friends? He probably had never even seen some of these people. I don't care about the others, but our own Emperor Ji also disappeared. I hope that every one of you here is clean and innocent. Don't let me find out who the culprit is. Or else, we aren't opposed to destroying the good and bad alike. I believe everyone knows my behavior and style, right? Guyu smiled faintly, his eyes sweeping across the room as he settled on the martial arts union for a few moments longer. Of course, our martial arts union has been using every power within our reach to investigate this matter, so I'm certain it won't be long before a conclusion is reached. The vice president of the martial arts union amiably responded. This is considered a significant matter. Which of you is missing a boss? Relying on your own investigation alone. How long will that take? Nameless Nya said as he suddenly stood up. Hire me. My team and I are the most outstanding mercenaries in the independent state. As long as you pay us, my boss would be like my real mom and dad. I will dig 3 feet underground. No, 30 feet, if necessary, to find them. As long as payment is provided, there's nothing we can't do. Yi Wanwan, this isn't my real brother. I don't freaking know him. I absolutely don't. Everyone turned to Nameless Nya. Enough already. Who doesn't know Nameless Nya's team is a group of swindlers famous for taking the money but not doing the work? One of the leaders said. Yi Wanwan, who said I take money but don't do the work? Come out here and say that to my face if you have the guts. Since when have I ever taken the money but not done the work? Unless the money provided wasn't enough. Nameless Nya furiously shouted at once. This time, Yi Wanwan could verify for that boss that Nameless Nya and his team really took the money but didn't do much work. If you depended on Nameless Nya and his team to search for someone, that person would probably decay into a skeleton and there still wouldn't be any progress. However, Nameless Nia's team was occasionally fairly reliable, but this freaking depended on luck entirely, alright? Come, ask President Bai of the Fearless Alliance whether my team is efficient at our job or not, and whether we're the fastest and strongest or not. While Yuan Wan was enjoying the show, Nameless Nia abruptly directed all inquiries to her. Never would Yuan Wan have expected this. Yuan Wan, you freaking... Embarrassment crawled onto Yi Wanwan's face when she saw a number of gazes landing on her. She had no idea what to say. Actually, they're fairly reliable. We've had several business dealings and Nameless team is very reliable every time. He was her actual brother, after all, so Yi Wanwan could only ignore her conscience and lie. Ask Guyu and Skeleton next. They're part of Emperor Ji's group, Nameless Nia said. Guyu furrowed his brows slightly before nodding a moment later. Very reliable. However, regardless of how beautifully the picture was painted, no one believed it, and Nameless Nia's dream of becoming wealthy failed. Xie Qianchuan quickly returned to business. I received news yesterday that the clan leader of the ancient Jiang clan went missing yesterday when he went outside. No one has heard from him since. The leader of the ancient Jiang clan? Everyone's expressions shifted. The leader of an ancient clan? What kind of notion was that? He also disappeared. They all sunk into contemplation as they wondered. What in the world has been going on in the independent state lately? In the midst of fervent discussion, the door to the conference room was kicked open from the outside with a gigantic bang. The people in the room were instantly incensed. Every attendee of the meeting today was famous and respected. Who dared to act so insolently? A cold glint flashed through Xie Qianchuan's eyes while intrigue entered Jiang Lihan's face. He wanted to know who was in such a hurry to reincarnate. The man standing outside the door was expressionless and dressed casually. His head of long, ink-dark hair scattered down his back, touching his waist. He languidly walked forward, but his terrifying aura quickened everyone's breathing. Damn! Big Dipper visibly shuddered when he saw the newcomer. Piece of brother shit. Ishuehan walked to the center of the room, carelessly, like no one else was present, and he surveyed the seats packed with people before swiftly making his way to an elder from the martial arts union. When Piece of Shit's gaze landed on him, the elder's brows locked together and sweat seeped onto his forehead. Move, Ishuehan aloofly commanded. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the elder from the martial arts union had no choice but to grit his teeth and yield his seat. The amusement on Jiang Lihan's face disappeared completely and was replaced by a seriousness never seen before. Brother E, why are you here? The vice president of the martial arts union examined Ishuehan with astonishment. However, Ishuehan didn't give any response. Instead, he raised his arm before pointing at Jiang Lihan, the Xie Qianchuan, the Nye family, the Ling family, the Shun family, etc., who abducted the leader from the ancient clan. A while later, Ishuehan calmly raised this inquiry. Everyone in the room looked at each other, bewildered. Who abducted the leader of the ancient Jiang clan? How would they know? Even if someone abducted him, it had to be Piece of Shit who did it, right? Who in the independent state didn't know Piece of Shit wanted to annihilate all of the ancient clans? Was there some kind of misunderstanding? Doubt raised in Yi Wanwan's mind as she looked at Piece of Shit. Previously, she also suspected it was Piece of Shit who caused the disappearance of these independent state leaders. However, Piece of Shit came here without invitation today and asked that question. Who abducted a member of the ancient clan? Hand him over to me, and I'll let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, I will destroy your entire clan. Ishuhin's frightening gaze swept over everyone in the room, and his icy tone carried a pressure that made everyone unable to resist or refute him. No one dared to vocalize their rage toward Ishuhin's words, though. They all wanted to have the capability to abduct a leader of an ancient clan. Brother E, I don't know about other people, but this matter absolutely doesn't have anything to do with our Nye family. Worryless Nye turned to Ishuehan and attempted to explain. Noisy. Ishuehan coldly responded with a glance at worryless Nya. Worryless Nya. Ew. Nya Linglong furrowed her brows slightly, but didn't say anything. You simply need to listen to me, Ishuehan interrupted. Brother, this was a meeting called by prison. Even if you want to unleash your wrath, can you please wait until our meeting concludes? Xie Qianchuan asked the other man. Before Ishuehan could answer, Yuanwan mockingly glanced at the martial arts union and interjected, Knight Errant you can turn your questions to the martial arts union. The martial arts union are probably the only ones who possess the ability to abduct the leader of an ancient clan, no? Following her words, Ishuehan's gaze settled on the vice president. Don't kid with me. Why would our martial arts union do such a thing? The vice president countered coldly as he glared at Yuanwan. You, take me to the martial arts union's headquarters and let me investigate, Ishuehan ordered. Ishuehan, you'll believe anything other people say? The vice president sounded displeased. You wouldn't be afraid of ghosts knocking on your door if your conscience was clear. What do you fear? Yuanwan snorted. Ishuehan glanced at Yuanwan before saying, I don't care about other people, but you need to thoroughly look into the cases concerning the ancient clans. Send a representative to investigate the matter. I can help if difficulties arise. The Nye family is willing to investigate this matter. Nye Linglong suddenly stood up and turned to Ishuehan with a faint smile. My sister, Worryless, and I are confident we can get to the bottom of this matter. Who in this room didn't want to befriend piece of shit? If they could crack this case, not only would their reputation in the independent state skyrocket, but piece of shit would also owe them a favor. Me. I'll go. Yuanwan also stood up and yelled, eagerly raising her hand. Sihan looked at Yuanwan with a furrow of his brows. He couldn't help but feel exasperated. He should have known that since she was there was no way she could silently sit on the sidelines. This is the president of the Fearless Alliance. Brother, you should know about the Fearless Alliance's nature. How can someone like her shoulder such a great responsibility? Moreover, how can the Fearless Alliance compare to the Nye family, whether we're talking about our connections or strength? The fake worryless Nye piped in. Yuanwan narrowed her eyes and turned to worryless Nye. With her current identity as the president of the Fearless Alliance, her connections and strength were weaker than the Nye family's. But so what? Her support was strong, and her son was also Ishuehan's disciple. Everyone watched as Ishuehan nodded and said to worryless Nye, Your words are reasonable. Worryless Nye's lips curled up, but before her smirk could fully form, she heard Ishuehan sing, Then I'll leave this matter to President Bai. Worryless Nye, Nye Linglong. Worryless Nye's face brimmed with disbelief. Mr. Has your esteemed self mistaken something? Weren't Ishuehan's words the same as saying the Nye family's connections and strength were inferior to the Fearless Alliance in his mind? Yuanwan was dumbfounded too, and everyone else looked at each other blankly. People all said Ishuehan behaved strangely. It appeared they were right. At that moment, an incredibly excited voice shot out from the crowd. Ha, lil shit, you're finally here. Nameless Nye's eyes shone brightly as he stared at Ishuehan. Lil shit, let's fight. Ishuehan glanced at Nameless Nye, but didn't respond. Instead, he turned to the vice president of the martial arts union. Come with me. Let's go to your headquarters. After saying that, Ishuehan got up and left the room. Ridiculous. The vice president snorted. Since you're willing to waste your time, then I'll take you there and you can see. After Ishuehan and the martial arts union group left, Nameless Nye scratched his head. Is lil shit scared of me? Yuanwan looked at Nameless Nye. Her brows knitted. I don't think he's scared of you then. Nameless Nye was confused. It's more like he looks down on you, Yuanwan said. What do you know? He merely didn't hear my battle declaration. Nameless Nye was fired up instantly. That's possible too. The original goal of the meeting today was to choose a representative and investigate the matter, but it appears a result was reached already, Jiang Lihan said. Prison originally intended to initiate an investigation into this matter, so they could expand their impact and influence, but the Fearless Alliance unexpectedly messed this up. Since there's a result, then the Nief family won't meddle in the matter. Aside from attending this meeting, the Nief family also came here today to announce something, Nie Linglong said after an imperceptible glance at Yi Wanwan. The Nief family has something to announce? Everyone focused their attention on Nie Linglong and her group. Nie Linglong solemnly said, "According to the Nief family's customs, we will be inaugurating a new leader soon, and the leader has been chosen." Damn, the Nief family is switching heads. This is major news. Who will be the new head? In the midst of clamorous surprise, Nie Linglong continued, "The new head of the Nief family will be my elder sister, Worryless Nie. I hope everyone here can attend the ceremony. The invitation will be delivered within the next few days." Yi Wanwan was enraged and turned to the devil-may-care, nameless Nie standing next to her, wishing nothing more than to club him. Just how did this nameless Nie get by? Wasn't he the eldest son of the Nief family? How come he couldn't even win the position of the leader in the end? Are you a pig? Yi Wanwan disappointedly stared at nameless Nie. Nameless Nie pursed his lips. What can I do? I had an argument with my mom. It's pointless. Yi Wanwan sighed helplessly. Relying on nameless Nie to compete in this kind of thing? Forget it. Yi Wanwan immediately looked at Nie Linglong and the fake worryless Nie. Fine, I've been waiting for this day. You want to take control of the Nie family? I'm ready. When night descended, the conference finally ended after all the utter chaos. Yi Wanwan was a bit anxious when she saw Si Yihan about to leave. She wasn't able to speak to him much today. Shit, what's going on? The moment Yi Wanwan stood up, her breathing halted and she felt like blood was rushing to her head. Sis Phone, what's wrong? Big Dipper reached out to catch her. Yi Wanwan held her head. I'm fine. Big Dipper exasperatedly looked at the monument Yi Wanwan was still holding. It must be because the monument is too heavy. We said we would carry it for you. Yi Wanwan immediately shot him a look and intensely stared at Big Dipper's hand. Move your hand. No touching. Big Dipper hastily pulled his hand back. Fine. I won't touch it. Move it yourself, all right? Seven Star glanced at Yi Wanwan in unease, sharply detecting something off about her current condition. Why did Sis Fang's breathing seem so disordered? Sis Feng, do you feel unwell somewhere? Seven Star asked. First Elder also looked at Yi Wanwan and exclaimed in surprise, President, why is your breathing so disrupted? Yi Wanwan rubbed her pulsing temples. Nothing. My body just feels a little strange. Big Dipper questioned. Strange? Where? Yi Wanwan glanced at Si Yihan, and a single glance caused her heart rate to rapidly speed up and her blood to rush toward her head. Shit, what's wrong with me? Don't tell me I'm so useless that I can't even take a look at him, right? What was more frightening was that she ineffably found Si Yihan's clothes to be a particular eyesore. Sis Feng, just what do you feel unwell? Let me find a doctor to help you take a look? Big Dipper hastily asked. Yi Wanwan peered at Big Dipper and expressionlessly replied, I suddenly really want to rip Lord Azura's clothes off of him. Can a doctor treat that? Big Dipper, 7 Star, First Elder, Third Elder, the nearby Fearless Alliance higher-ups. Chapter 2001. Big Dipper kept swaying side to side, blocking Yi Wanwan's sight. Yi Wanwan irritatedly smacked him to the side before marching towards Si Yihan. Shit, hurry and stop Sis Phone. What is she doing? She isn't really going to rip. Big Dipper didn't have the nerve to finish his words. Terror struck the members of the Fearless Alliance, and they scrambled to chase after Yi Wanwan. Thankfully, she was carrying a giant piece of rock still and couldn't move quickly. Moments after Si Yihan walked out of the conference room, Yi Wanwan swiftly blocked his path. Esteemed Lord Azura, I have something to say to you. Yi Wanwan barely got out half of what she wanted to say when a mass of people from behind her worked together and dragged her away. Si Yihan's gaze followed Yi Wanwan. You have something to say to me? As Big Dipper, first elder, third elder, and the other members forcefully pulled Yi Wanwan away, they simultaneously shouted, "No, she doesn't." Yi Wanwan replied, "I want to know. She doesn't want to." They yelled. After saying that, they rapidly dragged Yi Wanwan away like they had Hot Wheels under their feet, running faster than rabbits as they left a gust of wind behind. See Ian. The group didn't relax until they ran far into the distance. Fuck, that was seriously too thrilling. Thankfully, they managed to restrain the president, or else catastrophe would have struck them. Since it was late after the conference ended, prison arranged accommodations for all the attending factions. The Fearless Alliance was placed on the westmost side, and food and drink were waiting for them already when they arrived. First Elder walked to the table and carefully poured a cup of herbal tea for Yi Wanwan as he earnestly persuaded, "Ah, President, although the Fearless Alliance isn't afraid of anything, well, there's always an exception to the rule. Am I right?" Third Elder agreed on this rare occasion. That's right, that's right. First Elder is correct. That sir is enigmatic and really isn't someone we can provoke. Moreover, this is prison's base camp. Yi Wanwan first cautiously placed her precious school monument on the side before taking a seat. She propped her chin on her hand and peered at her subordinates from the corner of her eyes. "I merely wanted to chat with him. Look at how worried you guys are. What are you guys thinking? All of you, why are your thoughts so impure?" Who was it who said something frightening like she wanted to rip off his clothes? Big Dipper asked. "Even if I said that, how could I do that to Lord Azura now? If I wanted to do that, I would wait until no one else was around." Big Dipper, you can't even if no one else is around, all right? The Fearless Alliance was in the midst of a breakdown when Nameless Nya burrowed into the room from somewhere and plopped himself down next to Yi Wanwan before stretching his neck and shouting, "Owner, where's the menu? Quickly bring the menu here." Only then did Yi Wanwan notice that Nameless Nya had actually followed them here for some reason. "Why are you also here?" Nameless Nya grinned. "Aren't you about to eat dinner?" "Perfect, I also want to eat dinner. Isn't it more lively eating dinner together? You're just here to freeload." Yi Wanwan countered. "Good sister, listen to yourself. What's our relationship? How can you call it freeloading? A family eating dinner together is absolutely natural." Yi Wanwan. He was seriously calling her good sister more and more smoothly. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.